This is Warsaw Calling. And welcome to a Bergkamp Wonderland and Arsenal podcast. This is Lord Hillwood, otherwise known as Steve, live from Warsaw. With me tonight, I've got a complete gang of delinquents, starting with the worst delinquent on the podcast, our man Dan, pressing the buttons in deepest Cambridgeshire. Danny, how are you, you old bugger?
Well, my mum has fed me 2 gluten-free crumpets. And a non-gluten-free apple Danish, and I've had a cup of coffee, so I'm raring to go. How are you?
Oof, well, no, I'm fine. I mean, demise of Middlesex and taking a point of the northern Tupperwares, you can't beat that. And talking of plastics, we now go over to ABW's famous plastic pirate in Plymouth. It's Kris.
Hello, Stevie boy. Dom called me Budget Johnny Depp earlier on. I'll take that happily.
Wow.
Just freshly in from another 4.5 mile run, so I'm good. I've got a funny story actually, which I can tell very briefly if you wish.
Get on with it.
So I was out on. It's only the second run I've had since injury, and I was trotting along on the turn for home, and I thought, cool, that's a bit sore, in the old gentleman's department, and I'd managed to pop a bollock inside. So
I wasn't expecting that.
So I had to stop and pop him back through again.
I see. Bit of winter exposure.
There you go. No, I don't mean like out in the public. I mean popped out of, as in caught on my hip bone.
Oh, ouch!
Yeah.
Not stuck in your hip.
No, well, sort of. I mean,
how long
could look
are they?
it up, but
it's cold. They're meant to be retracted.
Well, that's what I thought, but I think this one just retracted a little bit too far. And yes,
Captain O'Dangly Nads.
Indeed.
You know Johnny Depp's got that advert for Eau Savage. You could be Eau Sausage.
Indeed.
And
quite the thought.
And talking of sausages, a man firmly on the nest from somewhere in deep southwest London. It's Geoff Arsenal.
Not southwest London, Stevie boy. I mean, deep down Wanstead. I bet you know that manor, don't you?
Oh my good God, you're up there.
Yeah, you know what? I feared the worst. That he was going to, when Steve said he dropped one. As men of our age, they drop down to the knees, mate. That's the problem.
Yeah,
sort of for a young man like Kris.
No, you can't be wandering around needing bike clips for your nads. It's just not right.
Rolling them into your sock.
God bless him. Will he be fit for Sunday though? That's the thing.
It's debatable at the moment.
We won't go into gross detail, but one takes it that the goods have been examined and they're all A-OK. And
they're back in the holster and I'm ready to shoot again.
All right, so the spuds have been primed. And talking of spuds, we now go...
what a segue.
Oh, indeed. To talk about the Middlesex Morons and the game against them. Before we start this sequence, I'd just like to start, just to say, to make it very clear, there's been a lot of the little darlings tramping up with their little trumpets, jumping up and down on the internet all week about it's Arsenal's cup final, it's their biggest game of the season for them, etc., etc., etc. North London takeover. Let's make it very clear. When you win 14 leagues, 13 FA Cups, you go unbeaten for a season, and you steal our captain and do the double 3 times, you can come back and fucking at us, all right? Until then, know your place and shut the fuck up. And let's also make another point. You haven't won anything for 10 years. That's a decade. You haven't won the FA Cup for 27 years. You haven't won the league for 58 years. We go to cup finals and we win them. We've won the FA Cup 3 times in the last 5 years. You haven't fucking won it for 27. You're homeless, so shut the fuck up and just... The only reason we like digging you out is because you're like bloody idiots who respond all the time. And the more you respond, the more we're going to take the piss, because it's great fun because you're such twats. So, on to the game. Geoff, did you go to the game?
I did indeed, lucky enough. What a fantastic... I was a little bit nervous coming into the game because... you know it's like North London derby. I was really, really nervous the night before, but you know what? They just from minute one they was on the game. We just totally bullied them off the park, and it could have been a lot more. It could have been. I think it could have been 5 or 6. We had a few cleared off the line, didn't we? And to a man now. It's amazing that what Emery has done in such a short space of time, because they really do. They've really gelled well. I mean, Torreira in the middle of the park is brilliant, and Aubameyang up top, and even when Lacazette come on, it was such a threat, such a different threat. And the way what I like about him, as opposed to what Arsene didn't used to do, was, I mean, he saw, although we was on top of them, he saw that we had to change it around at half time, and he made that change immediately. And that was the game changer there and then, because the second half we just battered them, and we could like I said, we could have done. They was quite lucky. We could have battered them 5 or 6 in the end.
Yeah, I mean, Lloris as ever is their saviour, because he made a few important saves, a couple cleared off the line. What surprised me though, Kris, was the intensity coming out of trap 6 like a greyhound who's had a Vindaloo. What did you make of the way they started the game?
Yeah, like you said, the intensity. There's been an awful lot of weird conjecture talked about this whole can't win a first half thing. I couldn't give a toss if we don't win any first halves of any season ever again, as long as we're winning second halves like we are at the moment. But that said, it's good to see when you come out. I thought it spoke volumes about Emery's understanding of the fixture as well. It's very, very easy to come in to a new job and everyone say, oh, it's the derby, you've got to win this, you've got to win that. But it must be difficult when you're not from the area, you're not from the country even, to suddenly go, okay, this is the big one. But I got the real impression that Emery had been into the players and had sort of said, this is the one. And the players themselves as well. We haven't got many quote unquote local lads. It's one of those games that you can't lose as long as you win, if you will. And I think a lot of people were sort of saying pre-game, I'll take a draw. I was like, no, this is the one game every season you want to win. Well, I say one game, 3 games as it will be this season, maybe more. But the intensity sets the marker. First few challenges, and it really was the first few challenges, they didn't know what hit them. And I was sat here sort of shaking my head to myself thinking, how on earth have they got back into this game, let alone leading it? It was absolutely crazy that they managed to haul themselves level and then in front. Obviously we'll talk about how that came about, but really, really good to see. And the one thing that I'm getting really tired about is people making comparisons. Oh, well, in the old days that didn't happen, under Arsene that didn't happen. We're not in that era anymore. We're a new club now. Essentially we're under new management, and if we keep playing like we are at the moment, you can't go wrong. It's just really impressive to see the lads doing what they're doing and performing at such a high level.
Yeah, absolutely. What was your sort of impression of the whole sort of thing overall, Danny?
Well, I always say there's 2 things I want from a season. Don't lose to Spurs at home and don't lose to them away. So if you do those 2, then I'm happy. But for us to go out there and absolutely annihilate them, and there's nothing I like more than us going ahead, and then I love it when they go ahead and then they're giving it the big one and they're giving it the large one and they're going, oh, it's magnificent. Me and my mate Lee, he's a season ticket holder at Spurs. We don't ever message each other backwards and forwards on these days, because for years and years it's just been constant abuse from me to him. So I'm glad I did that, because of recent times we've not had the rubber the green with them. But then it was his birthday on Saturday, and was it Saturday or Sunday, the game?
Sunday.
Same day as yours, Steve. And I didn't even know it was his birthday, and I was out to dinner with Sean, and then Sean went, oh, it's Lee's birthday today, I'm going to send him a video. And she was recording the WhatsApp video to him, and she just put the camera at me, and I went, and I thought, that's a million words in one mouthful of nonsense. But it's just great. It just shows how attacking we are, and the amount of what do they get? They got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yellow cards. Was it 6 yellow cards? The way the people used to beat us, as they used to either rough us up or out players. You can't do either now. The only way that people are getting anything off us is our own fuck ups, and that's something that over time won't be happening. And like Kris was saying, this team isn't a Wenger team. I mean, there's 4 players that played that day that weren't at the club when Wenger was manager. So everything is new. And when things are starting new, I think it's because we've had so much success under Emery so soon that people are now being critical about the success we're having. And, we shouldn't have done that, or you can't have done that. We're a year ahead of where I thought we should be. I'm just so delighted with every aspect. So the gist of it is we beat Spurs at home. All we got to do now is not lose away, and that's my season done. I'm happy. How did you feel, Steve?
I mean, for me, I think, as Kris said, the tone was set. Torreira just smashed Dele Alli straight through his back doors to just introduce himself.
Hello.
And instead of you welcoming me to London, I'm welcoming you to N7. Take that. And I think, for me, it wasn't just the intensity. It's very clear that, ex-players going to the club like Ian Wright, Robert Pires, who still trains with the squad, who's still about there, have drummed it into these players. People like Ramsey, Koscielny apparently made a speech to the team before the game in the dressing room about how important it was. And I think they came out, they were pumped up. And I remember after the Liverpool game, Emery said that's the sort of like the benchmark. That's the intensity we want. I want the team to build on that. Well, they did build on that. They increased it because, they went 1-0 up. The Spurs came back. Then there was a massive punch up down the sideline. And that's laying down a marker. That's basically saying you're not going to come and kick Arsenal off a pitch anymore. No one's going to bully us. If you're going to bully us, you're going to get clumped back. You're going to get 2-footed back. And we don't mind having a fight with you either. And we've got some really hideous shithousers, Socrates, Lichtsteiner, and a few others who don't mind leaving their foot in. And that's a message to the league. The last 2 games we've had are waving a flag and saying, you thought we were finished, well, you're fucking wrong.
And on your birthday too.
Yes, it was a marvellous present. And
can we mention the Dele Alli stat as well, Steve? Because I've enjoyed that.
Yeah, he. How many touches was it he had, Kris?
6. And do you know
the
how
whole
many of
game?
those? Yeah, no passes.
Wow.
This is successful passes. He had 6, and 4 of those were kickoffs. I mean, if that doesn't scream world class, I don't know what does.
Like you were saying, Steve, that was brilliant. Torreira, it was early on in the game, wasn't it? Like you say, centre marker out there, midway in their half, so couldn't do no damage, and he's gone straight through Dele Alli. But that, what that is as well. It's really good from such a young man. He done that to get the crowd up, to get the crowd on our side, and to cheer it all up like the old days, wasn't it? Brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely. And it really, really worked wonders. And we was right on top of that incident where they was all having a scuffle at the side of and that Guendouzi, he's come off the bench and just run down there and gone full blast into Dele Alli, and then that would never have happened under Wenger, would it? Because Wenger, he wouldn't, he'd be worried about all that stuff, but obviously they're right with each other now, and it's fantastic. They're getting involved.
He's got a history of that as well. Guendouzi, he was in his Lorient days, he was suspended because he had a big bust up with the manager at half time, and he was basically suspended from the club for 2 months for his outrage. So he's got a bit of of that about him.
And see, there's Aaron Ramsey. He's warming up down the touchline. He's also gone straight in and had a go at Dyer. No mess. I don't think he'd have done that under Wenger. So let's go back to the first goal. I don't know about you lot, but I thought when I saw their team, I thought, the fucking hell's Pochettino doing here? Why has he got this inexperienced Spanish kid at the back when he could have put Danny Rose there? He's played in the North London derby. He's quite quick and he's reliable. And why has he got Aurier there as a red card waiting to happen? And then why has he not played Alderweireld, who's their best centre half? He's also the organiser at the back there. I bet our forwards looked at that and thought, oh, great. So let's, Kris, do you want to go through the first goal?
Yeah, weirdly, I think I tweeted just before it happened, and I said we've got to get at Aurier. He's a player that we were actually linked with a while back.
He's an Arsenal fan. There's pictures of him wearing Arsenal shirts.
Yeah,
him and Sissoko.
Him and Sissoko, yeah. The thing with Sergio Aurier is he is your classic modern day fullback, and what I mean by that is he can't defend for toffee. He's a sort of player that has, he is quite good going forward, but he has no discipline. He's got no positional sense, as you said yourself. He's a red card waiting to happen. his ability to read danger is terrible. I thought it was hilarious that he was chewing out Juan Foyt, who's the young lad that you were saying about that Spurs kept faith with, who is fucking awful. I did think it's quite apt that when you've got a young player on the side, the one thing you don't do is chew him out. And there's Aurier, pissballing and complaining about the fact that Voigt didn't come across and cover what was ultimately his error. So I did find that quite amusing. He's just one of those footballers. He's very, very erratic. And I looked at that position on the pitch and thought we've got to get at him. And so it came to pass from that from his foul, wasn't it, that the ball came in. And I mean, what on earth Vertonghen was doing. It was. I think somebody said, I can't remember which pundit it was or what show it was, but somebody said that it was the reaction of a player who thought, shit, I'm in trouble here, and just sort of threw out an arm in the hope that they could, because I think it was Mustafi's head if he didn't make the touch, but his positioning was awful. And then obviously Aubameyang very calmly converted the penalty. It wasn't the most convincing penalty on first glance, but I'm never quite sure about a short run up. But no, he converted it, and I thought it was no more than we deserved at that point in the game, because we were clearly on top at that stage of the proceedings.
Yeah, it was sort of a bit worrying about how certain gentlemen who may or may not like performance-enhancing drugs.
It's killing you not to say it. Don't say it.
Kept streaking down the pitch and was given way too much space. And it infuriates me with this, going back to the Arsenal days where people never tackle people. They were sort of like run alongside them as if they were sort of like their chauffeur escorting them through a shopping mall. Instead of just taking the fucker out on the halfway line and breaking both his legs, as Peter Storey would have done. What did you think of their equaliser, Geoff? I mean, was that a free kick or not?
I'm sure that Pochettino's got them all in a room maybe 18 months, 2 years ago, and said, listen, we need to nick some penalties and free kicks around the box to help us, aid us score these goals. You can see every single game that they play that you've got Dele Alli, Son, he's a master at it now, because that free kick that he bought in that really, really dangerous area, and you could see, and we were right behind that. It was the same place, and you could see if they whip the ball in correctly, it's a danger for one. Our defenders are running towards their own goal because they play in that high line, and the goalkeeper, he's got to be very, very careful, because he's worried if anyone gets a touch on it, he's got to be ready for it, and if he doesn't, try and work out where the ball's going to go, he's going to be standing still. But unfortunately, I think he could have done better with that goal. I really do. But the free kick, the way they cheat, they was doing it all the game. And no doubt we'll talk about the penalty later on. But no, it was just poor.
Did you think Dyer? I got the feeling that Dyer and a couple of the others were offside.
Well, when he took the free kick?
Yeah.
Yeah, it were. Yeah, I think there was one right at the very just behind Dyer, or Dyer himself, and I think there was one other that I really like at the week against the Man United one. They're definitely offside, but yeah, it was harsh. It was harsh for poor old.
This first stage of play and second stage. If they're offside, they're offside, especially in the penalty area. Yeah. That's how we should play it. It's ridiculous.
It's got to be, because if you're offside and it's only you and the goalie's worrying about you, and you're also blocking his sight line. And I feel that Leno should have done a bit better than that when you look where it went. But, it is what it is. Yeah. And then the sort of game increased in its intensity, but we sort of had people like Iwobi running down blind alleys and losing the ball, Mkhitaryan doing a Walcott going missing, giving the ball away. And then, as Geoff just alluded, that he got free again. He's done his usual routine where he runs right to the. If you notice where he does it, Geoff, he runs in the box from the front and goes to the left or right. Yeah. As soon as anyone comes near him, he just falls over.
Yeah, just wait for the contact. He'll wait for the contact, even if it doesn't come. That's what the problem. He thought that there was going to be a big contact there, and it didn't come. It didn't happen for that penalty. You know what I mean? It was minimal, even if he did touch him. But it was just ridiculous, and it's just I don't know how they get away with it all the time. And it was a blatant dive. And what's more worrying is that he didn't get nicked for it afterwards. It's a blatant dive. If you can't do that. You talk about the game trying to get cleaned up with rubbish like that, and I think it was bad that the FA didn't nick him on it.
I think it didn't help the way that Holding came sliding in on his arse. I mean, if you're going to come sliding at someone at such speed and then that someone goes down, you're going to automatically think, without having to see the ability to see it again, you're going to think, well, he's recklessly gone in there. He's obviously taken him down. Yeah, and when we get VAR, those sort of things should be okay.
Yeah, but then it's a contact sport, and once you go in for a tackle like that, you can't hide your other leg out of the way.
No.
It's just everyone knows what's going to happen.
You can't take it off and chuck it in the stand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
The thing with VAR is as well, it's not going to alter anything, because if refs, when we come on to United game, we discuss Mariner a bit. If refs won't change their mind that they were wrong, then it's not going to change anything. Mike Dean couldn't wait to give that penalty. If you notice, there's a pattern in Spurs games with the cheating, that they score a goal that they've got from a free kick when usually at 0-0 when they're desperately in need of a goal or they're 1-0 down. And then very shortly afterwards, they get 2 or 3 minutes later, they get a penalty and take the lead. And that's probably worth 15 points a season to them. Without them 15 points, they're
so good. They're so good at diving and feigning all kinds of stuff in and around the penalty area, where danger areas or in the penalty area. I mean, Dele Alli, he's a master at it, isn't he?
He's always darlings, though, isn't they? They're all the England darlings. So everyone treats them lovely.
Harry Kane, the way he even when the ball will get knocked up to him, he's got nobody around him apart from opposition players. He'll just wait for a contact. And he'll go straight over, bang, free kick.
And so this is the thing: if they weren't English, they wouldn't get away with it. But the other players in that team also get away with it because they're the favoured brand. It almost seems. But now that penalty was, if you like, it was. I saw that as the fuse being lit from the first half intensity to go up to the next level, and I think Dyer coming over and shushing the crowd, that was a major problem, because that wound the crowd up massively. Yeah, stuff getting lobbed on the pitch, all the players steaming in. Yeah. It got so bad that managers are running up the touchline. I noticed ours didn't bother running up the touchline. He's probably restraining Carcedo. He probably wouldn't have run up there and get involved. And Bold, probably had to hold him down. But I think that just wound the team up. His response, though, that Kris talked earlier on about, he wondered if it seemed that Emery had understood what the game was about. Before the game kicked off, they showed him and Carcedo sat on the bench, and for the first time ever, he crossed himself, like Catholics do. So he obviously knew what was at stake. And there's another shot of him on the bench. He's got his fingers to his mouth, and he's in deep thought about what to do. And then it's half time. So it's half time now, Kris. He's made subs. Explain the subs.
Well, I've noticed it more when they were actually on the pitch, but the Ramsey and Lacazette on for Iwobi and Mkhitaryan. Now I know that you're president of the Mkhitaryan fan club at the moment, Steve, but he's a player I really like, and I did actually feel that he did all right in that particular game. But the one thing we were lacking was that ability of a player in particular. You get this from Lacazette, a player who's got really intelligent movement and can break the lines. And ironically, a player like Ramsey, who hasn't always excelled in the number 10 role when he's played it under the old system, but in this particular game, the change and the transition was so obvious so quickly. And the thing that I noticed most was that we were getting that ball in between those gaps that Spurs were giving us, and we were starting to find that it wasn't so much width. It wasn't like we were hugging the touchline, but we were finding the gaps. And then when you had a player like Ramsey who would be willing to make those runs from deep into the final third, that of course by default gives your other striker, in this case Lacazette, the opportunity to go in and join Aubameyang, or sort of switch it around again, put Aubameyang in there, and Lacazette can filter out in and around the penalty box. So it gave us essentially almost like kind of like a 3-2-4, but 3-2-3 I can't think of my numbers, but essentially we had two
Depends
forwards.
whether we're attacking or defending, doesn't it?
Yeah,
that's when it messes up your numbers.
It looked like we had three forwards. It looked like we had three forwards for a lot of that second half. You know, Rambo was marching forward all the time. It was like three up top.
Two centre forwards and a number 10. And the ironic thing of all of this, and I'm sure we'll talk about the large German-shaped elephant in the room. That system should suit him perfectly. That was the ironic thing, because he wasn't there on that particular day. But that's the weird thing. That system, if you did play with two up front and the one in behind, should have been ideal. And as it proved on the day, you know, we were exceptional. As soon as those players come in, it just made such a difference. I do think getting the leveler was key. I think we all probably would admit that would have been the case if we hadn't have got the equaliser when we did. You know, would it have been quite so in the end, straightforward? But we did get it, so fuck them.
What a leveler it was as well, wasn't it?
Oh,
brilliant!
God, yeah,
Jesus.
But it all came. I mean, those two substitutions. Also, what they did was Tottenham were very narrow, weren't they, Geoff? And they sort of surrendered huge amounts to the flanks, so that pulled their centre backs out. And then all of a sudden they're like, "Oh fuck, we've got Ramsey to deal with," or whoever was taking the turn to come in deep. And that's how that goal really got started, because it started with the press. Then Ramsey forced a mistake. And do you want to go through the rest of it, Geoff?
Well, what we're talking about, the Aubameyang, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, you know, all I can remember is, because I mean, it was so frantic watching it, and I was so nervous. Obviously, where we were 2-1 down, and I just had a terrible feeling that, you know, they're going to come here and just do us at our own ground again. You know what the feeling's like. You've been there, Steve, on numerous occasions. So your mind's wandering, and I don't know what happened, but the ball broke. It seemed to come across, it broke up front. Ramsey's more or less just helped it on a little bit, and I thought he was going to have a touch or something, but he just scooped it. He just scooped it and whizzed it round, and the goalkeeper, it went past him before he even had a chance to have a look at it. Really, it was like, what am I going to do with that? I mean, it was fantastic, and the crowd went crazy. The ground went absolutely mad at that time. I was going crazy anyway, and I mean, we went on from there, didn't we? There was only one team, I think, that was going to win it at that stage, because we was all over him, wasn't we?
How long do you think it will be before they try and make, because they know at the moment, every team knows that Arsenal in the second half, we've not won a half time. Like, I know it's games are 90 minutes, but about 45 minutes we've played. I think, 12 games? And how many games have we played in the Premier League so far? 15 games. I think there's only 12 or 13 of those games we've been losing at half time, and a couple that we've been drawing. So how long will it be before managers realise what Emery's doing, where he's going to assess the game for the first half, and beginning the second half he's going to make substitutions if needed? They're either going to start doing something to counteract it, or they're going to be worrying and panicking about it, because for a manager to do that so many times, it's maybe even start a new trend in football, half-time substitutions, because he is innovating the way we're playing football, and it's absolutely brilliant.
But we'll come to that later. So that's a tangent to what we're talking about, because that's more of a discussion of the Emery thing. But there's very little you can do about it, because one of the problems is that Arsenal are fitter than everybody else. They're number one in running distances. They clearly got more gas in the tank at the end of games. And the other problem is, if you've had a few bookings and you've had to use a sub for an injury, how can you plan for that? You can't. So, for me, that goal was brilliant, because it was just, a ball got whipped in, but was it a long ball by Bellerin, and then, as Geoff said, Ramsey sort of just whizzed it, scooped it past, I think it was Vertonghen, and he didn't even break stride, did he, Aubameyang? He just whizzed it in the top corner, and there's a brilliant picture of Lloris on one knee, looking in the back of his net at the ball.
Yeah.
When behind him, of course, after the stadium's going absolutely radio rental. And they all sort of like basically, swaggered over, with their arms out as if to say, yeah, look at that, And so then, of course, we then go on to the third goal. Kris?
Yes, Lacazette. He's Yeah, I mean, well, you you to give me this particular goal, but yeah, he's one of those players that I'm really glad it's working out. First of all, because I know when we sort of first signed him, I know a lot of people there was the old adage of, oh well, he's done it in Liga and that's a farmers league and blah 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 blah. This guy is a brilliant centre forward. There's a reason why Atletico Madrid were very very close to signing him, and there's a reason why Diego Simeone thought he was the final piece of the jigsaw for them to win the Champions League. He's an exceptionally hard-working centre forward. He's got very, very good intelligence in his runs that he makes. He is a finisher. But the thing I really like about him more than anything else is he scores all different types of goals. He's not just your standard fraud Kaku who just sort of stands around and waves a leg at things. He's not just reliant on pace, because he's not the quickest, but he's no slouch. He is that predatory fox in the box when he needs to be, but he can also score goals like he did on Sunday. And yeah, you can we can all take a 5-minute break just to laugh at Eric Dyer again, because obviously it was his deflection. World class centre back defending there, turning your back on the ball. That's always high quality stuff there. But you've got to get the shot on target, or at least close to the goal, to rely on a deflection, and you almost buy your own luck when you take that sort of shot early. And Lloris, make no mistake, Lloris knows Lacazette inside and out. He would have known exactly what he was looking to do when he let that ball run across him, and the speed of the shot, almost like Aubameyang's, to get it off that quickly and to get his shot away that quickly was superb. And that sort of feeling as it hit the net as well, it's just that sort of, you just knew at 3-2, you thought, yeah, there's no way we're losing this game now. I probably wouldn't have admitted that as I sat here watching it. I was probably as nervous as Geoff and the rest of the guys, but yeah, you just got the feeling the stadium was up. It was almost a tear in his eye as he went off to celebrate. It was a wonderful thing, and yes, terrific goal, and it is. I think he almost enjoys the role he's in now, where I think he'll come back into the starting lineup when he's fully fit, because he's not 100%. He's still got this slight groin issue.
Yeah.
But he's a sort of centre forward that he feeds off of characters like Aubameyang. He feeds off the crowd. He was an absolute god at Lyon, and he's fast becoming one of the fan favourites at Arsenal, and I'm really pleased that he is.
You know what I like about that goal is because obviously it was a game changer when we went in front again, and where we was more holding them. But he was when he got the ball down, there was 3 players around him, and it was like he was running up a blind alley and thinking, like, and there was no one around, no support around him really. He was up there on his own against 3 players, and the way he just got it down, had a little spin, and he's thought, well, go on, I'll try. We'll test the keeper. And it's great that someone would do that, and he did, and he took a gamble, and you see that the shot was on target. And as soon as you start in shots on target, like you said, Kris, anything can happen. You get, even if the goalkeeper saves it, he might parry it out to somebody. It just causes trouble. And thank God that it was a little bit of a nick, a bit of a deflection. I still think that Lloris should have done better with it. Fuck knows what he was doing. I don't know what he was doing, mate. But it was brilliant, and I like that about Lacazette. Again, like I said, if you give him a chance, same as that chance he had against the last night, we'll come on to that as well. But if you give him a chance anywhere around the box, 9 out of 10 times he'll put it on target, and that's the name of the game. That's a top striker.
Yeah.
The other thing is, it's quite clear as well from some things he said when he was being interviewed by Ian Wright, that the goalkeeping coaches are actually giving intelligence on goalkeepers to our forwards. Remember when we played Cardiff and he scored that brilliant goal? And they asked him afterwards, they said, like, why did you do that? And they said, because in the video work, the goalkeeping coaches told us that this goalkeeper was no good on hard shots. That's why I put everything I had into it. So I think they're probably getting info like that, him and Aubameyang and whoever else is playing up front, about where to hit the ball, how hard to hit it, what the keeper's weaknesses are. And that's coming from our goalkeeping coaches, not from strategists. Yeah. That's brilliant.
But saying that, when they brought the graphic up for the Harry Kane penalty, he had 5 out of 5 scored, and all of them were to the left-hand side of the goal. but then Leno dived to the right hand side of the goal. And I was thinking, I hope he dives to the right hand side of the goal here, because that's where he puts them all, and he didn't. He dived the other way. And I thought, well, that's a little bit odd. But as for the goal, I think some credit's got to go to Ramsey again, because if you go, I think 5 or 6 plays back, he's down there left-hand side. He's doing a little bit back and forth with Holding. He's going in a bit, back a bit, in a bit. And then they pass the ball across, I think, the midfield to Torreira. And then Torreira gives it to Bellerin, and Bellerin makes a bit of a run down the right-hand side. Then he gives it back to Aubameyang, and Aubameyang is the one who sees the run of Torreira. And he's probably thinking, well,
you got the wrong goal.
Oh, there's one about the Torreira one.
Lacazette goal we're talking about.
Are we?
Yeah.
Oh,
Daniel.
Should we move on to the Torreira goal?
Yes. This for me was like I don't know who was saying. An ex-player was saying that they, when they came to the club, that they was got lobbed up the wall by Tony Adams and Keown. And
that was everyone, wasn't it?
Lee Dixon was saying, they put you out of war. So this is a game you don't, lose. This is what means to most of the fans. We hate those bastards. We have to win the game. And he said basically, you're a new player. I said, but if you score in I think it was Ian Wright. He said, if you score in the derby, you become a legend.
You're cult hero, automatically, didn't you?
And I think Torreira's made such an impact on the team.
And that celebration.
I don't just think it's, he's blocking tackles, he's retrieving the ball. It's multiple tackles, it's multiple fouls. But it's not just that, because he's so much more than that. He's a runner. His reading of the game is brilliant. He makes so much space for Xhaka. He's constantly recycling the ball. And his first instinct is to get a ball forward. And for him to score that goal, I mean, I don't know if anybody's seen it, but there's a video of his dad and his brothers in the family butchers in Fray Bentos, watching him score that goal, and they all go absolutely fucking mental when he scored in the derby, and he burst out into tears after he's ripped his shirt off.
He did really well for that goal as well, didn't he? Cause you're talking about a deep line midfield player who's there just to defend and protect the back four. He's found himself really, really high up the pitch. Fair play to him little legs getting up the pitch, but the way he protected the ball when the ball was played through to him, it meant one or two things. Dyer, or whatever his name is, he either had to clean him out or try and get sent off, or try and win the ball in front of him. But the way that was because he didn't leave him no space to do either of them, and that's where he's got caught out. And then he's let the ball roll on, and a lot of players would have just took a punt at it and just had a go at it. But he didn't. He was calm and collected. He gave the goalkeeper the eyes, looked exactly where he was going to put it, and just slotted it away. And it was brilliant, wasn't it? Brilliant play.
I think Lloris expected him to go near post as well.
Yeah, I think
he definitely did.
This bloke is not really a goal scorer, and he was moving towards the near post, and Torreira went, fuck that, right-footed, bottom left-hand corner, good night.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
And the roof came off the stadium.
Mad.
You were there, weren't you, Geoff? Because I was WhatsApping you were sending me a couple of pictures.
Yeah, it was off the wall, mate. It was a fantastic experience. I mean, they always are, especially when we win them Tottenham games.
Is that the loudest it's ever been at the Emirates? Because some people are saying it has been definitely the loudest in years.
Well, in recent times, of course, because obviously the trauma we've had the last couple of years, But it was brilliant. It's great to see everybody on board, everyone on side. It made a great change,
Well, let's go from the denizens of North London versus the homeless vagrants of Middlesex to go up north above the Watford Gap to Manchester, home of Surrey away Tupperwares, and the Portuguese
man of war.
I was going to say man of war. Tony Pulis, actually, he's the checkbook Pulis, isn't he?
Checkbook Pulis.
The bus parker. This was a game I was very nervous about, and I mean, we've not got a very good record at Man United away, and I lived in Manchester for 2 years before I came out to Poland, and I was lucky to go there when Limpar scored that goal, and there was a big punch up the first time, and I was there when Overmars scored there, and I was there for the second punch up as well. But we don't have a very good record up there. We tend to get cheated by refs up there, or we go up there in good form and they put a shit side out and they banter a shitty win. So I looked at the side and I thought, what is Maureen up to here?
Making another point, it looked like.
But we did start badly. and I thought they started brilliantly. What did you think, Kris?
Yeah, I much like you. I did think that we could go up there and get the 3 points. I tweeted afterwards, and I stand by it. If you'd have said to me at the start of the week, you'll come away from Spurs at home, United away with 4 points, I'd have bitten your hand off, and I would have, and I stand by that. That said, I think the disappointing thing overall is like you say, they did start particularly well. I saw a lot of people saying, well, it's to our detriment if we can't beat this United side. They're shit. They're this. They're that. Well, they were shit a few years ago when Rashford debuted, and they had literally a scratch side and still beat us. They always seem to raise it when Arsenal come to town, and we, I fully expected that, and they did come out the traps early. And for the first 10, 15 minutes, we did look a little bit jaded, a little bit kind of not sure where we were going. Obviously, the 2 injuries didn't help us the half we were on either. But the goal came at a really good time, and obviously we'll come on to that in a second. But yeah, I did think that we sort of set our stall out that we were going to go and have a go, and once we weathered the initial kind of initial bit of pressing they did, because I didn't think they were brilliant, but they sort of set out with an intention of making it hard for us, and I think it was good that we were able to sort of see past that and play our way gradually into the game, and obviously the goal helped us get that.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly set their stall out of being very physical and very aggressive, and I think there was a point where there were 6 players booked in about a 7-minute gap by Mariner.
Yeah.
But I still think we'll come on to Mariner later. But I still think Man United got away with an awful lot of shit as usual, which one of which ended up in poor old Bob Holding getting his cruciate ligament done by Rashford, who was tweeting like a cunt about it. We always find a way through this afternoon, and then got upset because Arsenal fans took him to task for injuring our man. But I felt that the goals by both sides were a bit sort of like symptomatic of both sides. One side's in transition, the other side's in sort
Titanic
of
mode.
Well, I wouldn't say Titanic mode, but they're not what they were, and they've still not recovered from losing Ferguson and the changes that have been made. And I just think the goals were symptomatic of both those sides' problems, and also both of them having to play, a game like more or less like 2 days after their previous game. But what did you think, Geoff?
Yeah, going up there, obviously I was concerned because, again, like you said, the history between the 2 teams and our record at Old Trafford has not been the best over the years, and I was a little bit concerned as well. But because we're still, although we're quietly confident with Emery now and the way he set the team up, you're still waiting. Oh yeah, but this might be the time where we come unstuck. Blah blah blah. So I was a little bit concerned, and I'm just a little bit nervous again, like you are. But I don't see it how everybody else has seen it. I was watching Twitter afterwards, and people said that we had a shit start, etc., etc. I don't see it like that. I thought that Mourinho, he doesn't leave any stone unturned with regards to information and stuff like that. So I would have thought that he thought that Man United's best chance was in the first half. And trying to get a 2 or 3 goal lead or something like that. And yeah. I knew that was going to come out sharp, and I knew that we was going to have to give it 15, 20 minutes and just quieten down the crowd, and we would, and I'm not even, like when we're playing it about at the back, first 2-3 games of the season, I was absolutely shitting myself, thinking, what are we doing? Just hoof it, blah. But let Leno, he's got it off pat, and he's quite good on the ball. In fact, he's very, very good on the ball. And even though we was under a lot of pressure in the first 10 or 15 minutes, I thought we were still controlling it. We were controlling. Yeah. We was dealing with the pressure. We wasn't. That's what I don't see that from last season and the season before. When we get under pressure, we would panic. They'd be panicking all over the place. Arsenal last night and against Tottenham, we don't panic anymore. We're quite calm at the back, we just deal with the situations as and when they come. We will obviously go out to the calamitous equaliser later on, but I just thought, for the whole of the match that we controlled it. We really, really controlled it, and I was, at the end of the game, it felt like it was a defeat. because we'd controlled the game so much. I was really disappointed, pardon me, that we didn't win the game. And I think that's what you're seeing from Arsenal now. And it wasn't really quick passes like we used to do under Wenger and everything else. It's a different type of football. We're just building up, slow build up, and making sure that the triangles are there, so we can keep popping it in, popping it out, going in, and until it opens up a little bit, and then we'll go through the holes in the middle. But I just think we played really, really well, and I was disappointed that we didn't come away with 3 points.
So talking of quietening down the crowd, I don't think anybody expected Gary Sprake in the Manchester United goal. Sorry, David De Gea in the Man United goal to be the one that quietened down the crowd. What the fucking hell was he doing there?
Shocking, wasn't it?
Well, even Almunia would have been proud of that.
What was he doing?
He just caught the ball and threw it in his own net.
Oh, well, he went Pickford, just like Pickford did.
It was way worse.
Disaster. Yeah,
it wasn't the best bit of goalkeeping, was it?
Considering he's one of the greatest ever.
Well, he made up for it afterwards, though, didn't he? A couple of stops.
Yeah. Sadly.
I blame Josh for all of those.
You got to wonder how Man United fans feel, because Jose is known that he will make a point that he wants more money and the players aren't good enough by playing that bloke Dalot. He made his debut on Saturday for them. They spent 20 odd million from him from some Portuguese team in the summer, and he's only 18, 19 years old. And you're looking at that team, and that's partly a team that's gone out there because they know if you old Arsenal, you go out there, you kick them, you're going to stop them from playing, you're going to rough them up, and then went, oh fuck, this isn't working. If Mourinho would have watched any of the Arsenal games before that, he'd have realised that you're not going to rough us up, so don't even bother. When you've got Matic, who's 6'4", have been turned in circles by Torreira, who's 5'4", and you got Herrera, who's probably the best player of the night for them, but I didn't think he did himself as much, didn't look as good as he has done in some of the other games I've seen recently. There again, hardly any Man United players do. But you'd have thought, right, with this game, we want to probably play Mata behind the two strikers. Martial and Rashford are quick, and play Mata behind them. And then in the middle, you're going to have Pogba and maybe Fellaini, or probably Pogba, Herrera and Matic, something like that. But playing that young man on the right-hand side, he was lost, and their defenders are lost. And Smalling, I mean, I've never rated Smalling, but he was the best of their defenders, and their defenders were terrible. That Rojo should have been sent off. De Gea is, as soon as Man United have activated the 1 year extra on his contract, he seems to have gone there. I'm not playing properly. I'm going to ruin this. And everything that happens there is all about Jose. It's all about him making a point that he wants more money to waste on that team, and Sanchez is out until the new year. And I mean, Pogba should be the centre of any team in any team in any country in the world. You would build your team around him, and that's what they should do. I mean, Ford Lukaku came on and did fuck all as usual, because that's just a kind of at least he didn't lose the ball. At least he didn't trap the ball and then run off without it like he has done in recent games.
All over it.
Yeah, as a Man United, he's eating well, mind, isn't he?
Oh,
Jesus.
I reckon he spends at least one day a week in that chip shop outside Old Trafford, which is owned by one of their former players whose name escapes me.
And the rest.
Lou Macari, wasn't it?
That's Lou Macari's fish and chip shop. I reckon he's got a weekly Freeman's in there, Geoff.
I think Jose is it's got to a stage with him that I think he's made maybe more money out of getting a sack than he has for. I mean, I think
twice from Chelsea.
Yeah, twice from Chelsea. I bet he's had 50 or 60 million pounds out of getting a sack. I mean, that's a profession in itself, isn't it? You know,
they're still playing Moyes, aren't they?
And you know what? I think he's got to a stage now where he's got that situation with Pogba, and it really is a choice between the club or for the club to say, well, we either keep Mourinho or we either keep Pogba. One of them has got to go. And I think Mourinho has now got to the stage where he's thinking, well, you know what, I might as well just pick teams so they sack me as quick as they fucking can so I get me money, and he'll move on to somewhere else, because I can't understand how he's picked that team last night with all them other... the bench he had was unbelievable. You know, and they have got quality footballers there, haven't they? They've got top quality footballers, but he can't get a tune out of them for whatever reason. I don't know. Well, I do know the reason why. He's just a dog. I can't stand it.
I mean, at the end of the day, you expect Scholes to have his moan, but when you get Ryan Giggs, his manager of Wales, pipe up and say, Well, actually, I watched the game, and this new Arsenal looked like you can't kick them off the park, and they got a game plan. Man United didn't have one. That's what he said. But I mean, to go back to the sort of the politics of United, because we don't spend the whole show talking about them. The problem is that Woodward buys players for commercial reasons, not for how they fit in. So they've got this, and that beauty of a bomb dropped by Arsene Wenger a couple of days before the game that. Actually, it's not 500 grand a week. It's nearer 700 grand a week, just to piss the Man United dressing room off more when they saw that in the paper.
Did he say that? Yeah.
Yeah. He came out.
So what's he getting up there?
Well, he's supposed to be getting 700k a week.
That's amazing.
With Sanchez.
Yeah, I'd say Wenger just told John Cross this is an interview before the NLD, so of course John Cross spread it everywhere. So that's probably cool. That first probably caused some ruckuses in there, but they scored. Then all of a sudden, there's a. Martial's gone down quicker than Son can in the penalty box. And they've got a free kick. And it's brilliant save by Leno, but the whole defence goes to sleep. Herrera, who's at least a yard offside, puts it back in.
That's because he was first to the ball because he was offside.
Offside.
Yeah, and everybody stood there and just let him score.
Why does this keep on happening to us, though? I mean, I know it happens to other teams, but...
Well, Torreira ducked down, didn't he? I mean, he's 5'4" at the best of times, so if he'd have just stood up... He's South American. I expected him to stand still and take it in the face and then shrug it off, but that was just like... It's just a load of calamities, just a load of errors. Those things will get sorted out, but the linesman should have looked. The reason he was the first to the ball is because he'd made a run and was offside. And that's how he did it. And if he wouldn't have, if the linesman would have done his job, he'd have gone, no, you're offside, son. But he was quick enough to put Mkhitaryan offside, wasn't he, when he scored that great goal?
This is the thing. I think the linesman's looked at that and thought the keeper's touched it, so it's a different phase of play. But I mean, it's bullshit. It can't be because he was offside when the free kick was taken. Yeah. And the run he made took him offside anyway, and he's run right across the keeper's line of vision, so he's got to be offside.
I've got a theory on that. When it's in the centre of the goal like that, because it weren't that far out, but I honestly do believe that we should do away with the wall and let the goalkeeper just have a proper good look. Because I think he's got more chance of saving it. I really do.
Most people struggle with a penalty. Remember when was it Paul Cooper for Ipswich used to stand 1/3 of the way across the goal, and he saved 10 out of 12 penalties doing that for Ipswich back in the olden days, and it used to freak people out. They go, "Well, why are you standing to one side?" I'd like to see that, Geoff.
Well, I think
you should try it, Kris, with your lot.
Well, more and more teams are doing it. More and more teams are starting to rely on the goalkeeper for positional sense, and that it's one of those. It's a difficult one because if you stand there and the guy steps up, whacks at the top corner, you sort of look a bit silly. But at the same time,
the Arsenal.
Yeah, but if he whacks it in the top corner though, Kris, sometimes there's not a lot you can do about that anyway.
No.
If a geezer strikes it right, you're not going to save it. You understand?
I mean that free kick was struck right, and he made a brilliant save, and he looked so disappointed that they didn't clear it out. But I mean, for me, I think our fault in the past under Payton with the keeping was too much was left to the wall. So goalkeepers would leave, even Czech would leave too much space on one side. So if the geezer's got it up and over there and it's got enough pace on it, you ain't going to get to it. We're not doing that now. But I mean, which was the team that had a man behind the wall lying on the floor so they couldn't daisy cut it under the wall?
United did it on Saturday, didn't they?
Iwobi did that last night, didn't he? He was lying behind the wall. I don't know what he's doing.
It happened.
Real Madrid did it, didn't they?
Yeah. So Real Madrid and I think Inter did it as well. In the new camp at Barcelona, it's
laying on the floor.
Just laying behind the wall.
You lie on the floor behind the wall on your elbow with your stomach.
Imagine if we did that, holding a Mustafi, they'd be all over the shop. There'd be a bundle.
You do that so that when the wall jumps up, they can't slot it underneath.
That's genius. Never seen that.
I think it was the only thing he'd done right last night. That way, Iwobi. Come to think of it, he's more and more frustrating me. It's so. I mean, and I like him. I think maybe he's got a future, but sometimes
he's given himself really done his Arsenal career. But there's something I was thinking about. The goal that Spurs scored. That was because we stuck Torreira at the front of the wall, and that's the shortest man. And they had their 6-footers there, and now we've made another mistake with the free kicks. But when Emery is teaching the whole team how to defend, I mean, it was like they should have done it to ballet music. Some of the way our back five would all be in a straight line and moving forward as a straight line, and then the way the midfield were doing it. And I think that is a thing of beauty. But you can't teach them how to play as a unit. You can't teach them how to do all the defending and do a new way of doing the free kick. So this will come after a time. But it's just that bad that 2 games in a row now that we've conceded a goal from a free kick. And some could say that maybe it's Leno's fault for being a little bit punch happy, but
that one last night, you know, as the ball is travelling over, if you're in the wall or any one of them defenders, as the ball's travelling over your head, the first thing you've got to go is turn around and go towards the goalkeeper to protect the goalkeeper. Yeah. If you watch Iwobi last night, fuck me,
he just went to sleep, didn't he?
He's just gone to sleep, the kid. You know,
and it's a usual. He used to have this thing under Wenger where regularly 56, 57 minutes he was fucked physically and therefore fucked mentally. I've noticed that he shed some weight and he stopped that. But he sort of, in the Spurs game, the reason he was removed was because he was doing his shit and stamping it which is basically what he does. He's got the ball at his feet and he sort of does this thing where he stamps his foot on the ground twice.
It's like river dance, isn't it?
But it's like a poker tell. It's like basically I don't know what to do.
Fuck's sake.
So he's showing the defenders I don't know what to do. So the 3 of them guide him up blind alley and then rob him. And last night it was the same. Mkhitaryan was just against Spurs was just ineffective at losing the ball, but I think last night he was a lot better. I mean, so we're at 1-1 now, and then there are some false changes. I mean, poor old Bob Holding's been ravaged by Rashford. Rojas ravaged about 5 people. We'll come on to the shithouse ref in a minute, and then Lacazette's come on, and he scored that goal, which has since been taken away from him by the FA. But I'm saying it's his goal because I don't see how it wouldn't have got scored if he won in for it. It was his run and it was his fault.
It's been taken away from him, yeah?
Yeah, it's an own goal.
I can't say it was an own goal. It was a Lacazette goal, wasn't it?
Yeah, and for me, Rojo should have got a red card for that.
A red card? It's a straight red, mate. Shocking.
Taking him out
out of control from behind, got to go. And if it's not, if that doesn't go in, that's a pen.
It's a penalty, and the geezer gets sent off, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So why? This is the problem. This is the inconsistency. Well, I know why, because it was at Old Trafford and there'd have been murders there. That's what they did. They were shitting themselves. But it's the inconsistency. They should have had 10 men. It should have been. Even though the goal went in. Yeah, it's goal. Right, turn round. There's a red card for you because that was a terrible challenge.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, he'd done about 4 or 5. He was on a yellow
before that. Yeah,
he'd done 4 or 5 before that Marin had made that he didn't see. Yeah. Then there was Herrera done 3 or 4. Then there's Matic had done 3 or 4 as well. See, and when that Rashford foul occurred, he's run over to the touchline, Mariner, to see what's going on over there and called on the Arsenal medical team. And Michael Oliver, who's the 4th official, runs up and says to him, you could see it on Polish TV, that should have been a booking. And Mariner got very aggressive with him, as if to say, don't you question me. Like, quite arrogant, you know.
That sums up English refereeing. They don't work as a unit. The referee's at the top and the others just got to shut up and do as they're told.
Yeah, don't criticise what I'm doing. But for me, they were very lucky to finish that game with not 11 on the pitch, but 10 even. Fellaini could have gone, couldn't he, for his hair pulling.
Which has now been let go.
That is shocking.
No charges.
Yeah,
that was shocking.
There's your inconsistency again, isn't it?
But didn't somebody say that someone got booked for or sent off for doing that to Fellaini a few years ago when he had his big afro?
The one
Andrew Mariner sent off Robert Huth.
Yeah,
for doing exactly the same to Fellaini, and Robert Huth made a snarky comment about it last night.
Huh? Oh, did he really? Yeah.
He said I got sent off by Mariner for that 3 years ago. He said
they weren't even that bad.
No.
The one that I remember distinctly was Ian Wright on Reggie Blinker.
Oh yeah,
back at Highbury years and years ago. That was the first time I remember it. And it's opened this debate. I saw
Arsenal was saying that Reggie Blinker is a really fast dreadlocked Dutch winger, wasn't he?
Yeah, Sheffield Wednesday back in the day. It's opened this debate about long hair again, and I know Arseblog was saying, if I was in charge, every player would have short back and sides, or from a man with glorious golden flowing locks. You shouldn't have to cut your hair to stop people from fouling you. It's no different to shirt pulling, and I think that's the thing. If that had been a shirt pull, as blatant as that, he would have at least got a booking. But because it's hair, it seems to be all right. And it's like, no, that's not. And I thought Guendouzi a couple of the Arsenal players were active on Instagram. I think Lacazette posted a picture and tagged it with "Why you do this, man?" to Fellaini. And I think Guendouzi was quoted in the French press today as saying, "I don't know why he did it. Maybe he's just jealous I have more hair than him now," which I thought was quite amusing as well. So
even Emery was cracking jokes. Maybe Matteo will have to get his hair cut so they can't pull it.
Yeah. Talking about Guendouzi, how good was he last night at Old Trafford?
It's great when he's up for it.
It's 19 years old. It's unbelievable how he controlled the game.
I know it's not a popular view with some of our podcast members. Big shout out to John and Jace, but I'm not against the idea of Guendouzi coming into the team on a regular basis. And although I know a lot of people felt we missed Xhaka last night, I didn't really feel we did. I think some players are good for certain games, and I genuinely don't know if we've done any better with Granit in the middle of the park last night. And it's not saying I don't rate, I think Granit is good on his day. He is a player that I think we could upgrade massively in if we wanted to and could. But it was more that the thing I like about Guendouzi is it's not just his appetite and his sort of vivacious nature of the game. It's his ability to quicken the pace when he distributes the ball. And I know
you don't know what he's going to do either.
No, and I know some people. I think Steve said it a few times. He does like to take an extra touch. Yes, he does, and that's the sort of the youth in him.
That's immaturity, isn't it?
Exactly, and it will take time. And it's almost like just getting that touch and going, right, I'm steady, now I'll play. But he does always look to move the ball forwards, and his terrier nature. Him and Torreira complement each other so well, okay. And like we've said a few times, on this pod, I think Dom and I have said this a number of times, partnerships are so important, in terms of whether it's a strike partnership, centre-backs, and those two just work.
But not only that, though, he's for a young lad, and that he hasn't obviously had that many games at top flight, but his intelligence is incredible. Because once as soon as we lose the ball gets turned over. He straight away he knows strategically exactly where he's got to be, and he goes straight back to get into shape again. Yeah. Really,
and he'll
really
get better. He will get better. Like we said, he's still learning, and he's still a kid at the end of the day. It's going to take time, but no, he's a very, very talented young player. And even when I sort of briefly saw him when he was at Lorient, he never looked to me like a player who was going to be as good as he is. His energy and his work rate was good.
One of the interesting things about him today, there was quite a long interview with Sven Mislintat. In one of the German newspapers, the Arsenal fans on Reddit, well done lads, got some German Arsenal fans to translate it from, and he actually talks a bit in there about Guendouzi, and he said that he saw what the possibilities were there, but the fact was that he could be coached to do so much more, and that's why they paid the money and got him in young, because they know they can develop him and get a lot more out of him than he was producing already.
Because he does everything at the moment. We can mould him in to be whoever we want.
Yeah. But I do think we did miss Xhaka last night. I think we missed him in terms of height, helping out at dead balls. I think we missed Xhaka for the connection with Kolasinac going down the left. I mean, but Guendouzi was a bargain. He was £7 million, for Christ's sake. I mean, in today's game, that's like buying a 50p fruit salad down the fruit salads down the sweet shop. Ridiculous amount of money, and he's going out there playing against Man United at Old Trafford away, and they can't deal with him. Fellaini and Matic are having to kick him all over the shop. So we're at one. We're now at 2-1, and of course, boom, straight from kickoff.
Unbelievable.
Disaster strikes, and poor old Said Kolasinac. I think he was he wanted Bernd Leno to come and get it. Bernd Leno I don't think understood him very well, and he just managed to nudge it past his own keeper. Apparently afterwards, he was so down about it, because Emery mentioned it. He said to him, "Don't be so down." He said, "You gave us so much offensively tonight, but you're a defender, and these mistakes can happen, but you have to learn from it."
I think he had a terrific game as well. I think he played really, really well, Kolasinac, and he was 6 to 1.5 dozen the other. I do understand where he's coming from though, because the ball. He was very, very deep, wasn't he, Leno? And if he's going to play that kind of sweeper keeper. Maybe he should have been a little bit higher up the pitch, and he could have just scooped it up. You've got to be at least on the edge of your 6-yard box as the ball's coming over, and then you can, worst way you can come out. And he's done it. He did it a couple of times. I think at Tottenham he come out and cleared it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So a couple of times where he came out and completely ruined the promising move for them, didn't he?
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. If he's a little bit higher up the pitch, and I think Kolasinac, and it's bobbled down, and he thought that the goalkeeper was going to come and scoop it up, and unfortunately, the inbred kid, he come in and just got a lucky goal, wasn't it? Really, it was our defence. Unfortunately, we just made a mistake. Again, it was a lack of concentration, and that's cost us the 3 points.
I mean, I get exactly what you said there at the end of it. Like you sat there thinking, bloody hell, that's like a defeat. But I also agree with what Kris said. If someone said to you a couple of weeks before, right, £100 and you get 4 points out of that, you probably think, bloody hell, to get 4 points out of them 2 games, that'd be a bloody great achievement.
Yeah, I said it before the Spurs game. If we get 4 out of the 2 games.
I also think a lot of credit as well. I mean, we're going to come on to talk about Emery and then, but I think you've got to give Ramsey a lot of credit for his professionalism.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's come on in that Spurs game. He's been asked to play in a role he's not particularly done very well in.
Made him captain, which is good.
Made him captain, but he's excelled himself. He's got 2 assists. He's had a punch up with Dele Alli. He's took the piss out of Eric Dyer on Instagram as well. It sounds pathetic, but in the old days you wouldn't hear of any of this banter. He's basically saying to me, "Well, you told me to sit down, so I came on and made 2 goals, and you lost. So fuck you." I think his performance was brilliant. I think his performance was brilliant last night, and I think if we hadn't have lost Holding and we hadn't have lost Rambo last night,
5 injuries we got yesterday.
But if we hadn't have lost those 2 last night, I think we would have got all 3 points.
Yeah, definitely.
I think. The biggest problem last night, as Geoff says, was the Iwobi. I think the problem with him is he's played too many games. He needs a rest.
He's done well though, compared to the Iwobi of the last 3 seasons.
Yes, he has done. But once he gets physically knacked, his mental side goes, and his decision making is dreadful. Or he just switches off. I thought Mustafi was very good last night, and I think Socrates has been hello, Jason. I know you're listening.
You bastard.
I thought Socrates was brilliant, and I loved it in the derby where he ripped the ball out of Ericsson and then stood there like with his arms in the air, as if to say, "Come and try it again, you little fucker." Yeah. And he did the same. He did the same. He left Kane on the ground. So I think, really, to be honest, I don't know whether you all agree that 4 points is a decent tally from them 2 games, and it takes us nicely into the next bit, which is, where do we all think we are in the grand scheme of things with Emery and the team? And we can combine this with another bit. Let's talk about where we think we're up to and how maybe other teams in the league perceive Arsenal now and Emery. Geoff, do you want to go first?
Well, I think that there must be, listen, any team that goes 20 games unbeaten, no matter what level of football you're playing at, right, that's impressive. And if you're doing it in the top flight, and if you're doing it in the top flight of the Premier League, right, which is, you can get beat anywhere, as you well know, I think it's an amazing achievement for someone coming into the club for a first season with all the, a manager that had been there for so long beforehand. I've been so surprised. And, I think that the other teams are now fearing that this is an Arsenal team that are not a pushover, like we spoke about already on the podcast earlier on, that, we're not a pushover. You've got players that like Socrates, Kolasinac. If he's not good for anything else, Kolasinac, if you can have a tear up or the game's going to get a bit tough, you want him on your side because he's ready for it. And you've got Torreira, you've got Guendouzi now, he's ready for it. He'll stick his foot in there when he needs to. And you've got players that are the that are going to fight in the trenches for you, and you've got quality strikers. And if you can combine that and you get the right balance, which hopefully he'll find over the course of the time, things are really looking good for Arsenal. And I think other football teams will recognise that. and they'll fear us. And once we get a little bit of that fear factor, then they'll start thinking about defending more, not trying to counter-attack us, which was the game plan in the Arsenal days, because they knew we was wide open.
Yeah. Kris?
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to add too much to that. I mean, the point about the 20 games is massive. I mean, you just think about that for a minute. 20 games, that's a long time, and it shows that this team are now. It started out as a bit of we're 5 unbeaten, 6, 7. Basically, the only 2 games we've lost, in the entire Unai Emery era, have been against 2 sides that, let's be honest, we probably expected to lose to. Certainly one of the 2.
Yeah,
we should have beaten Chelsea,
and we should have beaten Chelsea, absolutely.
Yeah,
and there's only so many times that people are going to sit back, and I hear it I listen to a lot of different podcasts, as Danny does, and I hear constant crap about how this is the most wonderful Tottenham side of an era, how amazing Liverpool are, having spent £600 billion, how wonderful history Man United are, and they'll come through this dark day, and all this crap, and there's the stuff about Sarri and Chelsea, and you have to play Conte here and do this, and we seem to be going under the radar, and I'm more than happy to keep us there. And I said at the start of the season, I can see us finishing 3rd, and I stand by that, because I don't see any teams better than us right now than Man City and a push Liverpool. And I think even on our day, as we proved at the Emirates a couple of weeks ago, we can be as good as Liverpool as well. And I just think that momentum's such a huge thing in this game. And I think what's going to be really interesting now is how we manage the injury situation we've got. Because, I mean, it wouldn't be Arsenal without injuries, would it? And what, if any, business that Unai can do in January. And I'm not talking about stellar names, left, right and centre, but I do think we need to do a little bit of business, and I do think we need a little bit of cover, and even if it was loan signs, just a couple of players just to see us over the line, and there's that Europa League to go for as well. So, everything is positive, and we've just got to keep this run going. And the most important thing is when we do lose a game, because we will, it's going to happen, it's really important that we bounce back, because we could easily have gone off the rails when we dropped points at Palace, when we dropped points at Wolves, but we didn't. We've come back fighting, and that's the sign of a manager and a backroom staff that have got players who are doing exactly what they're asking them to do, and more importantly, believe in each other.
How do you feel about it, Danny?
Well, I agree with Kris. What Kris said, it's not 20 games in unbeaten. We lost the first 2. And then it's 20 games. And in those 20 games, we've had 6 different left backs. We've been playing 2 or 3 different formations. We've had our star players go off injured. We've done quite a lot of it without Ozil recently. Teams have been coming at us and kicking and fouling us. I've never seen, I can't remember the last time I saw a game with 5 of our players. If we already hadn't have made 3 subs, Mustafi probably would have come off last night, because he was struggling badly. And then and all the other things that is happening, it seems to be, it's not just luck. All these years we've had really bad luck with stuff. We're not relying on luck. We're relying on I don't want to say it, but passion and team spirit and togetherness. And don't worry, lads, if we're down at half time, we're going to turn this round together. This is what we're going to do. Now you're coming off. You 2 are going out there, and we're going to do it. And then the Spurs lot went, oh fuck. We weren't expecting them to do that lot. We're not an easy pushover. We're playing wonderful football, and it is a joy to see. And with the next lot of games, Huddersfield, Qarabag, Southampton, then Spurs in the League Cup, then Burnley, Brighton. The next important game we've got is the 29th of December away at Liverpool. And as we've seen in recent games, they are quite fallible in a lot of the stuff they do, because their front 3 isn't always the front 3 they played last season. They've had one of their young blokes, I think, has just recently got injured. And yeah, I mean, look at Klopp getting away with running onto the middle of the circle. Imagine if Emery would have done that. God, we'd have had points taken away.
The acid test is, though, because it's not going to continue this run. You are going to get beat somewhere, and you are. I think we will, unfortunately, go through some kind of spell where we struggle for 2 or 3 games or something. It's just inevitable. It just happens, doesn't it? Even the top sides, they generally go through a little bit of a spell, as we know from past experiences. The acid test is how we recover from the first defeat, and can we go into the next game? Because you're going to have injuries, you're going to have suspensions. And like Torreira, he could have in another game. He could have gone last night, couldn't he, Torreira? To be honest with you. He could have got a red.
Can I slip in a listener's question, Geoff, related to what you've just said from Ehab? I think you were chatting with Ehab, weren't you? On Twitter, there was someone you're having a chit chat with. He says, given the dull nature of our fans, do you think it will take 1 or 2 losses for them to turn on Emery? 3 draws maybe, which is exactly what you're saying there, because it's going to happen sooner or later, isn't it?
No, you know what? To be honest with you, I think the same people that are barking now are generally the same people that was barking previously. And
barking for attention.
Yeah, well, it's up to whatever. I just think
it's all a game.
And I think you'll still get the same people doing the same stuff. But in general, in the main, certainly at the stadium, everyone's on board. Everyone's, really, really, ambitious about what's going on at the club. And I think that we've got a clean slate. And the way he's handled it, Emery, and we like the way they're playing at the moment. We're better defensively. We're 75% better defensively, and we haven't really lost a lot of the. I enjoy the passages of play that they're putting together. I thought it was going to be like we would be defensive and just trying to hit teams on the plate. It's not been like that at all. Our passing's been really, really good, and we're building up, and it's just nice to watch. So, no, I think that everyone's behind the team at the moment, and long may it continue. But you are going to get. You can see that people they just want a voice on Twitter, don't they? They just want to mouth off. Generally, it's for retweets and well, that's what it is. So, but everyone's behind it, I think.
Steve, what's your thoughts on it? Because we need to move on to questions next, don't we? We've been chatting for about an hour and 20 minutes so far.
I mean, for me, it's a very big job he's taken on here. I mean, you've got to understand the guy's got to. How can I put this in an analogy that won't annoy everybody?
Just annoy people. It's more fun.
It's basically like he's got a load of dirty laundry, got some really bad stains in it, and he's got to work out how to get those stains out of his best clothes. Whether those stains are, lack of mental strength, lack of bottle, lack of knowing what to do when you lose the ball, strategy, tactics, learning to play in different roles, engendering discipline into a defence that wasn't trained for a decade, and getting a goalkeeping coaches in to train goalkeepers who are being ruined by the last keeper. So he's got all that to contend with on a limited budget. In probably the biggest league and most competitive league in the world, where you can go to Brighton or you can go to Cardiff and you can lose, And if you look at the way we were passing the ball out from the back against City and against Chelsea in the first 2 games, and compare that to how we were arrogantly passing through Tottenham's press in the derby, that shows you how far he's come. And he's come in, he's stamped his authority on the team. Like Ramsey, you don't want to do what I want you to do, you won't play. Right, Ozil, you're dropped. Iwobi, Mkhitaryan, you haven't been crap, but you haven't broken through, so I'm taking you off. I'm going to bring on 2 players and change the game. He's always got a plan B. And the players now, they look to me that they are more of a family, that they're enjoying it, they're a group together. You could see that in the derby. Someone's attacked one of their mates. One of them's run 50 metres to get involved. They're all in there having a go. No one's bottling out. Everybody wanted to win that game together. And I think, they're showing a side of, we aren't like Arsenal. You can't bully us. You can't kick us off the pitch. No one knows what to expect from us anymore. And this is the other thing, like you were talking earlier on. Can a manager plan for our second half? No, he can't, because half the time Emery hasn't decided what he's going to do in the second half until he's seen the end of the first half. Goes there with the game plan. He knows what his game plan is. But he's changing and adapting that game plan as he goes on to take advantage of the mistakes, the things he sees going on. So, if you think he's managed to do that in 15 Premiership games and quite a few Europa League games, what he's done so far so quickly is incredible. So you think to yourself, well, actually, he's not been able to buy any players. The only players he'll have had input in would have been Guendouzi and would have been probably Torreira. It's basically, there's a long way to go. But as Geoff said, everybody's behind it, and it's brilliant. So
long may it continue.
Long may it continue.
An interesting season or 3.
Yeah, yes, indeed. Are we going to move on to
questions.
Okay, some listeners' questions.
Did you read what I put in the chat box, Kris?
I am just reading it now. Oh, there's all sorts of stuff.
Just ask Geoff a couple of questions, and then we'll let Geoff go because he's squatting at the moment.
Okie dokie. Okay.
I might add, not in the Kazi, just in his.
Well, I don't want to give too much away.
Just in
International
general.
Man of Mystery, Geoff.
Well, the first question we have got is from is it Hoppy Hopkins by chance, Danny?
That's him.
Yeah? Okay. He says, "What do you think of the hair pull? Should there be retrospective action taken?" We've kind of mentioned that, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. I mean, I can't believe that they've not. I mean, retrospectively, they do all these other have decisions afterwards. So why not? I mean, it's blatant. It's like an assault. That was. How has he got away with that? I don't know. And you know what? It's right out of Fellaini's book. It's the type of stuff he does. He's always up with his elbows and stuff like that. He gets away with murder every single game. Shocking.
Yeah, I agree. Next one, Noir Confidential. He loves a question, does old Noir. Some people or the media like to narrow the rivalry discussion down to a clash between two players like Vieira versus Keane. If you were to do the same, what sort of pairings consisting of rival players and ours would you create? Christ, that's a question, isn't it?
I've read it 3 times. I'm still not sure how to answer it.
No, I'm struggling. So what kind of rivalries would you create in terms of...
I'd like Kolasinac to have a straightener with Dele Alli.
Yeah, that would
there's only one winner there.
Yeah.
And you know what? Torreira would most probably up Harry Kane as well.
Yeah. Eric Dyer and anyone. Eric Dyer in a food blender would be quite fun to watch.
Eric Dyer and Lichtsteiner.
Yeah, that would be fun, actually. Yeah, that would be quite fun.
My one would be from last night when you saw Matic hopping around on one leg, grabbing the underneath his thigh because Torreira had managed to kick him and scrape down the back of his thigh. I'm sure it's Torreira that did that. That's the kind of thing that Noir's talking about. But long term, I suppose it'd have to be maybe holding long term argument with Kane every time. I suppose who was it in the FA Cup final? We're holding. I was Costa, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's the kind of thing we're looking for. But Costa's gone, so I'd go long term. Big Bob Holding being the bane of everything that Harry Kane does. That's the kind of thing I'd like.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a very, very good question, that one. So
a quicker one you can ask Geoff, so then he can go.
Yeah.
Got so many really good questions because you started off early, and I just usually give people the last 5 minutes before we start.
Okay, that China Life. This is a nice, easy one. Having played all of our rivals this season, how well do you think we've done? Do you feel? How do you feel about facing them again? I.e., home to Man United and Chelsea, away to Man City, Liverpool, and the scum.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, I think I'm looking forward to it now, especially after those last 2 games we've had, Tottenham and Manchester United. United at home, I would fancy us. Liverpool away is going to be a tough one, but I think we can shake them up. I'm not too concerned about a Tottenham away and Chelsea at home. I think we can do them as well. You know what? I'm really hopeful that we could. I think we could get in the top 4 this year. I really do. Please God.
It's on, Geoff. It's on. Right, you going to go, Geoff? Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thanks very much for having me, guys. And we'd chat again soon, won't we? God bless. Enjoy the rest of your night.
We'll be nice about you once you've gone.
Yeah. God bless.
See you soon, Geoff.
Cheers, mate.
Take it easy, Geoff.
Bye-bye.
Cheers, Geoff. Right, I won't edit any of this out. Just carry on with the questions, Kris.
Okie dokie. What have
There's
we got
another
next?
long one from Confidential. They give that to Steve.
Another long confidential.
Long Confidential.
Long confidential. I must remember somebody's asked me a question which I must get to as well in a minute.
Yeah.
No, where has it gone? I've lost it. Oh, there it is.
Some people.
Don't you think that Emery's not given enough credit for the psychological impact he has on our squad? Players like Holding, Iwobi and Guendouzi are playing with confidence. We aren't underestimating the smaller clubs, and we're fighting for the entire 90 minutes.
Well, as you said earlier on, I think a lot of what we're doing is going on under the radar. I think Emery's way of working has been quite well written about before we came to Arsenal in the press. Arsenal now are very successful about keeping what goes on in the club that they want to stay in the club. And I think he's definitely, there are players who are getting the benefit of individual coaching, not just with him, but with the other coaches we've got. And I know definitely that Guendouzi, Andy Wobi, Torreira, and even Bellerin, are getting more coaching than they ever got before. But I think one of the biggest psychological impacts is he's built the group, and he's built. There's a lot of, you talked about partnerships in there, Kris. There's partnerships off the pitch as well. So you've got the three French guys, Guendouzi, Aubameyang, and Laka. The three of them on Instagram are complete lunatics. And then you've got Hector, and you've got Torreira, and you've got Puezaguelo, who the Spanish sort of like team, and then you've got the German-speaking players. But they're all sort of gelled together. They all want to defend each other. They all, I think, really the whole psychological thing comes about partly, almost naturally, because he came in and he wiped out a whole blackboard of stuff that had been written for 22 years and said, right, we're not going to do this anymore. And all of a sudden, players are getting pulled to one side by a video coach, and they're saying, right, sit down. This is the guy you're going to be marking next week. This is the keeper. This are their weaknesses. This is how you've been. Look at what this bloke does in this. They're being shown players' mistakes and tells and how to draw them out. So they feel confident because they've got all this information, and they're in they feel like they're all pulling with each other. So no, I don't think he's given enough credit for it. But to be honest, the proof in the pudding is on the pitch, isn't it? And we're fighting not just for 90 minutes, the whole 95 minutes,
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. It's two very good questions as well, I have to say, from our confidentials. So thank you very much.
He's got one about films that I've got to go and answer later.
Oh God,
grilling me about why I don't like black and white or foreign films with subtitles.
God, it's just because you're an oik, Danny.
I'm an oath.
An oath.
Mind reading.
Chris Highland, that's our chappie over in his travels in South America, isn't it?
Yeah,
he's got a wonderful beard right now.
He has, and his mum's been over there to see him, and he's been. I think he was at the Cup of South America. Cup of Libertadores.
Cup of Libertadores, yes, or the one that wasn't, which is supposed to be played this Sunday, I believe, in Spain, isn't it?
Only one game this weekend to worry about. Come on, the mighty Timbers!
Yes, indeed. That's early hours of Sunday night.
If you tweet it, it's got to be a good goal.
Oh, if you have. Even if you don't like American soccer, check out Blanco's winner for Timbers.
Can we get back onto the question before Danny goes off in a 2-hour waffle?
Oh, it was wonderful. Chris says, how much longer does Xhaka have before being ousted by Guendouzi? Can I have this one? By late January, early February, I think he'll be third choice for central midfield berth. Okay, we'll play judge and jury. We'll play Judge Rinder here. I'll put the case for the tweet, and then Steve can put his case for the defence. So I think that Xhaka is a player that Emery and obviously other managers like, and I do like Xhaka. There's a mis sort of conception that I love every Arsenal player. I don't give a monkeys who they are. I love them all, but I do think he's quite limited, and I do think we can upgrade. I said last summer that I would have liked to have seen us go for someone like Evan Banega, who I know there's question marks about whether he, last the pace in the league, etc. But I just think
he's 85.
That too, but I love his combative nature. I mean, if we'd have signed Arturo Vidal, we had the chance, we wouldn't have been having this conversation. But that's not the story. But yeah, I do think Xhaka has a part to play in this squad. But for me, I think there's a player there that we could upgrade, and I do think that there's a lad at Genoa whose name escapes me. Tardelli, is it?
Could be both.
It could well be. If it was you, it could literally be anybody.
Could be nothing.
But yeah, I mean, I think he's a player that we've had a little sniff at. I think would be worth a look. But yeah, I mean, I just think that I just think that we could upgrade that position. I'm not saying Xhaka is a bad player. He's clearly not. And as for Guendouzi, I think it's a bit early for him to be relied upon now. I personally would have him in there. I'm not going to lie. But I do think it's probably a little bit early to rely on him. He's getting game time. Again, people have to remember he came from Lorient. He's come from a very, small club in France.
In a farmers league.
Oh God! And
it all depend on who we're playing as well and what formation, because that's a few games in a row we've played the three at the back now. Is that a thing that I don't think we can anymore? Can we? Haven't got the players to do three at the back.
Run out of players. God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it does. And I also think, sometimes people are very quick to say, oh, we need to get rid of this player. We need to get rid of that player. Sometimes you just need to look at what you've got and say, actually, it's brilliant that we've got all these options. Sometimes it's good to say, actually, we talked about Emery's ability to be flexible. Look at what Flordiola's doing at Man City. They change their 11 by the minute sometimes. They've always got this ability. I mean, they've got this amazing ability to keep players happy. I can't imagine how much money it takes to do. Oh wait, no, I can. But
from one group of multimillionaire international 11 to another group of multimillionaire.
I mean, the real point here is that there's way too many Arsenal fans that like a scapegoat, and it's either Mustafi or it's Emery, and I'm afraid to say that midfielders and defenders that make mistakes are fast becoming like goalies. They don't remember the 99 good saves or great things that Leno or Cech did. They remember the one fuck up or the thing that goes in. Yeah. And I think people also as well don't understand that he's only been here effectively half a season, and you can't put right a decade of wrongs overnight in terms of the defence, especially like, for example, to improve Mustafi. They obviously are improving him. They obviously are doing better with him, and he's becoming a better player. But, like, for example, people were cursing him last night and cursing the defence. Well, we were talking about established partnerships. Both Wenger and Emery like and trust Xhaka. And he does have his problems with his mobility. He has these brain farts where he does the stupid passes. But his partnership with Torreira is brilliant, because Torreira's reading of the game gives Xhaka the space and the room to do what he has to do. And Xhaka's size also gives us someone who can help the back four out defending dead balls. He's a good dead ball taker. And I think he's a player which will improve with much more coaching, which he wasn't getting before. And he was complaining about, but now he is getting. And I think this comes back to Danny's point, and your point too, Kris, where Guendouzi's great and he's a gifted kid, but he's got a lot to learn, particularly with the defensive and the positional side of his game, when to press, not to press. He's done very, very well, and he's performed brilliantly in the Europa League and was great last night. But you can't just shove him. People got so used under Wenger to having a first 11 they knew. That's never going to happen now.
No.
Emery's sort of like, right, I'm playing... I've picked Solihull in the cup, and we'll go and watch them. Right, who can I pick and give? What are my objectives here? Who can I pick to beat this team? Not risk any top players, not risk anybody who's near the red line who needs a rest, and just to beat them and get through to the next round. That's how he looks at every game.
Team for every game, yeah.
Yeah, and so some games it'll be like, actually, do you know what? I could do with the two nippers in there because they're fast and they can whiz round people, and the two midfielders out of this side are old and fat, or they're immobile and they'll mince, or I need someone who can ping the ball 30 yards, so we'll put Xhaka in there. So as you said, it's we got great choices that we can have. And going back to the back three question, Nacho Monreal's fit and he can play at centre back, so we can still have that option if we want.
Yeah,
which gives you the best out of the Hulk.
Nicolo Barella was the player I was struggling to think about. He's at Cagliari, who's broken into the Italian national side, and has been exceptional in recent weeks. So, yeah, I think he's one that is probably going to be one that might move. But yeah, I mean, it's as you say. I think, like you said, Steve, you bang on. I think some people, you can't criticise anyone because that means you hate them. And you can't overpraise somebody because that means you're biased about certain players. It's such a strange world we live in. I would just be very happy to say, look, we've got a really good squad now. We've got a really good squad of players. Let's enjoy it and let's let's profit from that rather than criticise the players that we have got.
We're doing all this with injured players out of form, our captain gone, our left back gone, players making their way into the first team, young players coming through. I mean, we're not even mentioned Smith Rowe, have we? And how well he's doing. What's he got? 3 goals in 5 games this season?
Yeah, and he looks a massive talent. But again, another player we need to, just be a little bit cautious with,
Yeah, not just him. There's plenty more there bubbling under the surface, but they've got to be brought through cautiously and gently. And that's where games like Karabag, that's where they get to shine their thing. And maybe we'll see Kos come back and make a performance in that as well.
Yeah.
So the next question, please, Monsieur Le Parrot.
Let's go for Rob Parrott. Do you guys think we'll bring in a few signings in January? If so, what position should be a priority and perhaps realistic targets? I'll come in at the end of this because somebody's asked me a question. But Steve, you're probably the best one to ask this about. If there's anybody who's on your radar, maybe?
I don't think we will buy anybody in January. Raoul said we won't. I think we've got people saying, "Oh, Rob Holding's injured. We've got to buy someone." It's their immediate reaction. This player's got injured. We've got players who can cover that position. We don't have to play 3 at the back. The only question mark is over left back. And I think that's why he started to play 3 at the back so he can use Kolasinac. I think he kept Nacho Monreal out for so long because he wanted to make sure he was fit and he wasn't going to break down. I think thinking about it now is the idea of that is right. You'll last till the end of the season, so I don't have to go and buy anybody until then. So, unless something comes up which is very opportunistic or is a deal they can't refuse, I can't see they'll be buying any major stellar stars. They might buy a couple of kids, but I can't see anything more than that.
No. Is there anybody you've had a look at, Danny, or anybody you know of? Or
well, we know that when players get older, injuries become more regular, and then they start piling on. Monreal's 33 in the end of February. We've got to be looking for a backup left back for him. Whether we go and make a big move for that young man at Leicester, the Englishman, I don't know. I can't remember seeing him play, but people were saying stuff about him. I don't think that Emery is the type of bloke who's going to go out and buy a top-rated young English defender. He's probably going to go back to Spain, where he spent many years managing and playing. He might have someone over there, much like West, where we got Monreal from. But we definitely need someone at left back, someone who is good enough to be first choice, or Monreal for first choice. We can't keep relying on ruining players' careers like Kolasinac. We've seen he can't play at left back. He's a left wing back, and when at left wing back, when he gets down and puts those crossing in, he's brilliant. So we can't play him there, and we can't play Maitland-Niles there. People keep saying we should play him there. No, he's played there a couple of times and did all right. Apart from he's a bit lightweight and got injured. And so that is the number one position. I don't know how Emery feels about loans. I know Wenger wasn't really a fan of loan players. He had a couple of them. I suppose the only really one that worked out well was possibly Benayoun and the Beast. Those two worked out quite well. Yeah, they worked out. So but we do need to get someone in. Now, I don't know if he's one of those managers that goes, I rebuild in the summer, I patch up during the winter. So either way, we need a left back, we need another centre back, because there's no one really coming through the youth that is going to be ready yet. We've got some decent ones there, but they're all 17, 18, 19. There's no one like Bob Holding who's going to come through and go, he's quite a young player and do really well. So for me, left back and a centre back, and possibly, depending, the board should look at it and go, my God, you're doing fucking amazing here. Have a lot of money in January transfer window, because you can have teams like Man United trying to rebuild, and then they're going to be letting players go. There's going to be top teams all over Europe, big teams that are that aren't doing very well at the moment, are going to have, or new managers or new owners. They want to clear out, and there might be something there that we can use. And under his training and his management, we could get someone really good. So possibly a winger as well, someone who can play down that right hand side.
Well, there's talk, isn't there, there's talk of Nicolas Pepe from Lille, which has been ongoing. He got his 10th of the season in 16 appearances for Lille the other night in a 1-0 win. So he's a wide right forward, wide left forward, can play either side, but particularly wide. 23, I want to say. I think he's 23. This is where I jump off the boat a bit, because people are saying, having watched one reel of highlights. Oh, we should go and spend all our money on him. He's a £25 billion player for me at the moment. And my worry is that Lille naturally will try and cash in and they'll be looking for the 40-50. I don't think he's in that bracket yet.
How about Dembele? Any legs with that?
Dembele, I do. Yeah, I mean, it's funny actually because a lot of people laughed when I said pre-season.
But where would we play him?
Well, I mean,
isn't he a bit of an Aubameyang? Is a striker who plays out wide?
Well, he's a wide forward, but the thing with Dembele is he's got that creativity and that ability to do something out of nothing. And the one thing that I don't know, I have an issue with the deal because I think Barcelona would be classed as a failure if Barcelona let him go because of the money they spent on him. And at the same time, if they loaned him to us and he's brilliant and then we can't have him, that sort of destroys the whole
why
point,
should
doesn't it?
Why should we improve him and iron out all the mistakes
this
and
is
then give
it.
him back?
Yeah,
I don't think we'll go for him. I think the big thing with Dembele is there's a lot of Arsenal fans who don't understand the world of finance going on about it, and I think there's a lot of media making connections with. The doorman at Dortmund will be our next signing because Sven spoke to him once, or he lit Sven's cigarette.
He farted in the office once, so therefore, yeah,
and you had to use the air spray.
There's links with Almiron as well at
he's going to Newcastle.
That's the talk, which I'm really surprised about because I think he's a far better player than that lot personally, but he's probably cheap, so that would explain that deal.
Yeah.
But I think he's a player I would have had a little go at.
Also, the Benitez ruse there, isn't he? Maybe he knows of him.
Yeah, but I think he's he is above MLS level. He's a very, very talented player, and there are slowly but surely starting to become players. You've seen the lad at Alphonso Davies go from Vancouver to Bayern Munich, who's Canadian international. They're starting to develop players now that are capable of playing in Europe. So it's a good sign. But we had a subsequent question actually, which is on the same lines, which I promised I'd answer, so I will. From Wolfgang Fuckface. That's not his real name.
That's John in disguise, isn't it?
He's got to be, hasn't it? He's at West Village Cam. He messaged me last night and said, given Rob Holding's likely serious injury layoff, which we now know is the case, have you got any up-and-coming centre-backs from the Farmers League? He didn't say that. He said Ligue 1, but I put it in just to make Jace happy.
Because Jace is shouting it.
Yeah. I heard him on the radio show last night, the cheeky shit.
Oh, it's a liability. Could
you recommend any from Liga in January? Well, the short answer to that one, Wolfgang, is no, because there aren't. It's not a vintage crop of centre backs in Liga at the moment. Probably the best one of the group went to West Ham in the summer, Issa Diop. His partner Christophe Julien is one I do like, but he's not had the best season, mainly because Toulouse have been awful. The only other player I really, really like as a centre back who would be, the trouble is he'd be another one for the future, quote unquote, is Malang Sarr, who's a 19-year-old centre back who plays at Rennes. Who, if you could tell me you could get him for sort of 10 to 15 million, I'd bite your hand off, because in the next 10 to 12 months, I think he could be a player that a lot of very big clubs are looking at. He's elegant on the ball. He's a very good distributor from deep, very physical, good in the air, strong, powerful. He creates things from set pieces. So he's probably the only one that I would look at. Unfortunately, annoyingly, Liga is more blessed for fullbacks at the moment. And Danny, you were mentioning left backs. Yeah. There is one, Ferland Mendes at Lyon, who greatly enhanced his reputation when Lyon stuffed Man City the other day. He's another one that will go, but there's nothing ready at the moment. That's the trouble.
I think there's sort of like a worldwide dearth of good centre halves, and you can see that in the price that Liverpool paid for VDV. I mean, he's not. He isn't Varane, and he isn't the man who's taken up space renting in the minds of every first Liverpool team player, Ramos. There is a shortage. I mean, I think if you look in our club, I think Emery's quite a pragmatic guy. I think they look at priorities of what they need to buy. I think, obviously, as Danny said, the left back thing is a big priority. Centre half, well, okay. Rob Holding's out for a year. So we've got Mustafi, we've got Socrates, and we've got Nacho Monreal who can play there. That's three. He's also got Mavropanos, who's back in training again now. He's also, I think, going to have to judge in the summer what to do with Chambers. who's at Fulham. So I think this is a question of they've got. I think he will. I think he'll want to get to the end of the season where if he can feel he's got enough data, enough knowledge of our team, our players, and our needs of what we want to sit down and say to right, these people can go. We can do better than them, or we can spend that money more wisely. And that's why I don't think so much business is going to get done in January, unless, as I said, somebody like Rodriguez at AC Milan comes free because he wants to piss off at the club. But this is the thing that all these players that we're talking about, the minute Arsenal invest in them, if you go after a Lyon player, that dickhead Aulas will want 50 million quid for him.
There's two in Serie A that right now that probably the two best centre backs in the world, other than for me, Titi and Varane, and probably Van Dijk. I don't like saying it, but yeah. But Koulibaly at Napoli, who is and Manolas. Oh yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, they both make mistakes, but
they've both been dog shit recently. I mean,
they would cost an absolute fortune. Yeah,
and I'm not even sure they'd like to come to England so much.
No, I think Koulibaly is built for the Premier League. I think he would. I think he would be. The physicality would be there. The only other one is the lad at Ajax, De Ligt, but again, he's been tapped up by Barcelona, hasn't he? So I mean, it's like you say, it's difficult, and it's when you spelt it out. Then that's when I really sat there and thought, Christ, yeah, Monreal can play there, Lichtsteiner can play there, but to all intents and purposes, we have got two centre backs now. That's it. It's quite when you think about it like that, it's quite scary, isn't it? We've got a very busy Christmas period coming up. It only takes one to tweak a hamstring. I wonder what Thomas Vermaelen's up to at the moment. Perhaps we could
sitting on his arse, not complaining, because that's the contract he signed, and one of the clauses was he's not to be expecting to play first team games.
No, I mean don't forget we've got Koscielny to come back, but you can't expect him to be up at full tilt. And I know Jace was saying on the radio show last night, he's made a lot of high-profile mistakes. Show me a defender that hasn't. He's still our best defender for me, and I still think him and Socrates moving forwards would be a perfect yin and yang combination.
Brains and brawn.
Yeah, but you have to accept, Cos is 32. He's coming off the back of essentially, for some players, could have been a career-ending injury at the age he's at. He's done really, really well.
And doing
but realistically, and doing it properly.
I mean, the thing is, you've also got to look at who Emery's going to put on his list to be lodged out. I think, given the fact that Mkhitaryan's on 190 grand a week and we've got to double his wages if we want to renew his contract, I think he's first candidate for the Spanish Archer. I don't think he's been that impressive. I don't think he's recovered from the sort of football ravaging that he got under Mourinho. Yeah, and I think he finds it hard to adjust in the system we play. He's never really recovered his Dortmund form. He's one. Which brings us on next. Nicky Wilson's asked a question. It's a two-part question. One's about diving and cheating, which we covered already. But he says, Aaron Ramsey's on his third injury of the season. He's only averaged 25 games a season for the past 5 years. Should we really be worried if he leaves in the summer, especially if the club think they can get someone else better and cheaper? And I'll add to that. What if that wages money is reinvested not in that position, but somewhere else on the pitch?
Which I think they probably will. I think you think the same, Steve, don't you? We can answer that, but I want to twist the question slightly, and I can ask you both this. There's so much divide in the fan base about this whole situation, and there's been some very good media report about this recently, which I have agreed with. That Ramsey played very well last night. He's played very well against Spurs, and all of a sudden now everyone's saying, actually the contract might be back. They might be sitting down. They might be talking again. We made a decision. And yes, agreed. If there is a middle ground that we can reach, and if we can keep the player, fine. Yeah, I'm all for it. But
I don't think that's going to happen.
No, we made a decision, and I'm really worried that people seem to forget that. Jay, shut your ears. Aaron Ramsey is a terrifically talented footballer, but he's also he also does have periods and parts of his game that can be an absolute bloody liability. You can't just overlook that because he's had a couple of very good games, and you can't suddenly start saying, right, well, he's had 2 good games, let's put the contract back on the table. These are the same people that are coating off Mesut Ozil at the moment, who seem to have forgotten the fact that on his day he's still a world-class footballer. You have to look at what we're dealing in, and if it's a question of Ramsey's people sitting there, and I'm convinced that this has come from Ramsey's agent. I think you feel the same, Steve. That this whole situation has come about because Ramsey's agent got a whiff of the maid's apron and thought, oh hello, I can get the dollars here, and he priced his client out of a contract. I don't think there's any doubt Aaron Ramsey wants to stay. His attitude's been first class.
I think it's worse than that. I think Ivan was going to give him $220 a week, and I think he thought, well, he panicked when Van Persie left, and he gave Walcott that big deal.
Yeah,
and he panicked when when Sanchez left and gave Ozil that deal because he didn't get that. And this is what a lot of our fans don't understand: that in the Muslim world, Ozil's a fucking superstar. And the amount of money that Ozil will make Arsenal out of sponsorship deals, appearing in adverts. So he's getting paid money for Arsenal to use his media rights to sell to advertising agencies so they can pay Arsenal money to put Ozil in adverts in Saudi Arabia, Muslim countries. And also, of course, in Germany, not so much in Germany now, but in Turkey. And he's a marketable commodity. Before I was very harsh on Ramsey and said that he was egotistical. And I think some people who are blinded by their love of the player, and also the fact he comes from the country they come from, didn't understand I didn't mean he's got an egotistical driving him, that he's a person who's selfish, thinks he's better than everybody else, because I don't think he's that sort of person at all. You can see with the way he does his animal welfare things that he's a very caring bloke, and he's a very quiet, private man. He's not flash or extrovert. What I meant was that he's employed an agent who clearly thinks that his client is the same as another player, which he isn't. He's not an elite international marketable commodity, and he's let his agent, his trust in his agent, get run away with, and the agent's blown the deal. Now, I think Raul Sanllehi's made this decision. He's not made it on his own. He's been very clear that he did it with Mislintat, he did it with Per Mertesacker as part of that committee, and he did it with Unai Emery and Caicedo. They made this decision. They are not going back on this. And you've got to remember, from Ramsey's point of view, this now, up until January and up until the summer, he wants to stay fit and put in his best performances ever, so he gets the biggest free transfer he can possibly get. So that's it,
And we do have to give him credit. His attitude has been first class. He has been, performing very well this season. Yeah. I just get annoyed with the people that, people say to me, oh, you got an agenda because of the French players and that. It's like, well, yeah, but if you're going to say that, you can't then turn around to me and say, well, Aaron Ramsey is one of the best midfielders in the Premier League, because to me, I'm not sure he is. On his day, he can be. Well, on their day, on his day, Felipe Anderson's world class. But on another day, he's absolute dog shit. So I just...
but the point is this, that at the end of the day, if you built a team around him, which was built to all his strengths, he would be world class.
Absolutely.
But the fact is you can't build a team around someone who gets injuries so frequently because of his life-changing injury that he got. And also, it just doesn't... No, when you've got the sort of quality of level of players that City, Chelsea, us, even Spurs have got in midfield, he's not going to be that person who's the regular starter all the time. So it can't be done. So I think they will reinvest that money, and I think fans have got to accept that this is Raul making a marker to agents. You will not fuck around Arsenal anymore.
No, and it's the same with Ozil. I think if Ozil was not at the club, Ramsey would have been signed. It would have been done months ago. I'm convinced of that, because he would have played in that position, but he's not. And there's a lot of talk now that in light of what's gone on, because there's clearly something has gone on with Mesut, whatever way you look at it, something. Well, yeah.
I think he is injured.
I think he is.
I think the other problem is not. I know this is not in the question. I think there's way too many of our fans have become conditioned to this English way of play, hard-running, physical players who, charging all over the pitch, breaking late into the box, scoring goals. Frank Lampard, Aaron Ramsey, that sort of type of player. Although Aaron's not the physical, sort of bludgeoning type of player, and they see Mesut Ozil as lazy. They can't get that stereotype out their head. So he's injured. Oh, therefore he's skiving off. He actually could be bloody injured. Wenger was saying he'd had this injury from before. I seriously think it's got to the point where Emery's had an arsehole in his team before called Neymar, and it cost him his job. Mm-hmm. And I think he realises that with Raul Sanllehi at Arsenal, he doesn't have to tolerate Ozil. And I think if he wanted to drop him and said to Raul, "I'm not playing him," he could. Raul, and then Raul's got the headache, not Emery. I just think he's not injured, but
I do think he's injured. On the same hand, I do think something has gone on all the way back to that game he missed. Was it the Fulham game? And there was that talk of, and I think Emery's answer to the questions the other night, like a lot of people have said, I'm probably just repeating it, but he could have just said, "Yep, Mesut's injured." When the reporter said, "Is he here?" He said, "Yep, he was in the stands." And nobody would have questioned it. I think the fact that he chose to not answer that and say, "Well, I don't know." I think there's something in that. And I think the only way that either the Ramsey situation changes or that we invest heavily in a player of any position is if Mesut was to leave. And I know people are saying, "Well, where's he going to go? Nobody would sign him." There's 3 clubs in Italy that want him already. One of them is AC Milan. One of them is Inter Milan. And even Juventus have asked the question. So there are suitors, whereas there weren't before. There are now. So, and it's a tough one because, like we say, on his day, Mesut is exceptional. The problem I think we're going to have is I don't think, as long as you've got 2 strikers with the quality of Aubameyang and Lacazette, I don't think you can play Ozil as well. I just don't. He needs a Ronaldo like he had at Real Madrid, where it's him loading the bullets, one striker finishing them. Not 2 strikers crammed into a situation and him and beyond.
We will see what Emery does. Next question. Danny, this is one for you.
He's gone to sleep.
I'm listening.
This is from Mark Blondal.
Oh, hello, Mark.
Had we conceded a late goal and lost, could we really say the team had played that match any different than under AW? I think he's talking about the United game here. Same combination of impotent attacks by our luck and idiotic defending combined with potentially overzealous attacking late on.
Well, I think at the moment we are balancing out our supreme attacking flair and goal-scoring abilities with our calamitous disasters at the back. And sometimes they're going to even out. We'll have a game where the defence will play brilliantly and the attack will do nothing, which has been a couple of times this season. And then you've got the midfield thing. It's just it's like a sliding scale at the moment. You don't have every single part of the 3 main parts of the team doing well, the defence, midfield and attack. And it's like you have to, do we want more attack in this game? Well, slide all the way up to the top of the attacking. Oh, defending? No, too late. We've got it on the attacking thing. But eventually that will become more balanced and then you'll have everybody more in harmony with each other doing their jobs. But when you've got a team that gets 5 players barged, kicked, shoved, pulled, poked, fouled, and then you're ready down to the bare bones and you've had to change your formation because of the players you've got. I mean, almost every game we play, we have to change the formation at some point during the game because somebody's injured or because we're losing or because we want to hold on to a lead. And if nothing else, Mark, it's making for interesting games. So, it's just these things are going to take time. When Wenger first took over, we weren't that good. And he also took over and we were playing 3 at the back then as well.
I mean...
Sorry, go on, Steve.
No, I want to hark back to something Kris said earlier on, and I think it's very relevant. There's a question here for Gav, and I'm not going to read it out because it's,
Is he being facetious?
No, it's a dig. And, for 21 years, we had the same manager. He did things one way. And at the end, for a long time, they didn't work and people were very dissatisfied with it. I know there are people that love him and they've overlooked all his faults and all the problems. And I think that if one thing that Emery has done, and he's done brilliantly well, is he's reunited the fan base and he's got the players to be closer to the fan base. And I don't think it behoves us as players or podcasts or whatever it is we do to keep comparing back to the past. Or what have we done? Is it comparable? Was it the same as with Wenger? Well, actually, in parts last night it was. But it doesn't matter because Arsene Wenger's not coaching the side anymore. And Jerry Payton's not the goalkeeping coach. And we actually do defensive training. And we're on a journey where we're only 15 league games into it, where a new manager and completely new coaching staff and completely new management are running the club. You've got to let that time to effect. But as Kris said, we're like a new club. We are Arsenal 2018, not Arsenal 2008. So let's stop comparing to the past, whether this is good or whether this is bad. Let's just sit there and go, actually, do you know what? We're 21 games unbeaten. And we only need, was it 20 games?
20.
20.
It's 20. We only need 2 games to beat, to equal George Graham's best run of going unbeaten. And
think about that for a minute.
Yeah, absolutely. When the rules are very different and all the rest of it. But on top of that, look at the way when we go behind, you're not worried anymore. You know they'll come back. And that's what Geoff earlier on was saying. Oh, it's all about how we react when we lose or we have a couple of draws. Well, we had 4 draws on the spin. We came back and won. And I think if we do lose a game, even if it was something horrible like the Carabao Cup and we lost to Middlesex, which I'm not saying will happen, but let's say I don't think it would affect them. They'll think, okay, right, fine, we made some mistakes in that game. Let's have a look and learn from them. Right, now we go out and take it out on the next team out. I think Huddersfield at the weekend is going to be a much more difficult prospect than most people think it is.
Yeah, that's got a 1-0 sort of late off Bakary Sagna's arse type of goal written all over it, hasn't it?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I've watched them a lot this season. They've been on quite a lot over here. And they've surprisingly defeated teams at home, not like 1-0 but before, but 2 and 3-0. And they're scoring not just from dead balls, they're scoring from open play because people make mistakes against them. They're incredibly well drilled and they're pressing and they're chasing down balls, but they're also hitting people on the break. And it'd be interesting to see how we get on with them.
Yeah, they're a team that don't score many goals. That's the big issue they've got. But they are well drilled and they do defend well. So I think an early goal would be ideal. But yeah, I think if people think we're just going to rock up and and roll them over, and we have to look at results last night. Wolves beat Chelsea. Chelsea have got Man City on Saturday, and whilst I must admit I'll be cheering them on through gritted teeth, but because as soon as City lose, the better. But yeah, I mean, if they don't get a victory over Man City, we're hot on the heels of pushing for third. I know we're currently behind that lot after last night, but I think we need to start looking at this third place, not just fourth. So yeah, Huddersfield is up next, and that's what we've got to focus on. But we're going to focus on something else now, Danny, aren't we?
Yeah. Where's the 5th question?
Scroll down.
Here we are.
It looks as usual. When I cut and paste from my WordPad to Skype just decides to reformat it with shit. So you're a man of words. You'll figure it out.
Yes, I got it here. This week's 5 forum question is: will the board back Emery with money for a top quality CD central defender? I think that is a winger this January, and if so, who? So
we've kind of gone into a lot of it, haven't we? I maybe I disagree with you slightly, Stephen. The fact I think we probably will be active in January. I don't think Marquee or what I'd call, or the FIFA community would call, a walkout. I don't think it's going to be a huge stellar signing. But I could see us. I could sort of almost see Emery doing a bit of an Arsene, plucking somebody out of Russia or somewhere that sort of just can come in and do a job. Personality is going to be absolutely key. He's not a guy who would just sign anybody. They'll have to be somebody that will fit the group. There's a lot of talk of a few players in La Liga, isn't there? Pablo Fornells is one that was mentioned recently. He's a terrific little player, but I don't think he's the sort of player we need right now, if I'm honest. I think he's more if and when Ramsey goes, or if things don't go well for Mesut, that he's one of those. But yeah, I would be open-minded that we'll be in the market. Get your money on Dortmund players coming in, Shinji Kagawa and Geis, and not Geis, Weigl, but yeah, I mean, somebody who cleaned Sven's car once, perhaps, but yeah.
No, after reading that, and if people haven't seen it, in the Reddit group, Arsenal Reddit group, there's a translation of German football magazine's interview with Missing-Slat, where he talks about how he judges and selects players and the whole stats thing, explains it all very carefully. Once you read it, once you've digested it all, it does make you feel very confident that we've hired a guy who's at the top of his game and knows exactly what he's doing. He talks in there about, what they plan to do with Guendouzi and this is, they found Torreira. They were so keen to make sure they got him because he was such the right player. They overpaid for him. In 5 years' time, of course, that overpaying will become a joke because obviously they underpaid. I mean, the Wild Confidential mentions like Nathan Ake here, who's isn't he at Bournemouth?
Yeah, ex-Chelsea.
Yeah, and then he's sort of gone to the usual suspects, Nicolas Pepe. But I think we're more likely, as Danny said, if we do go out into the market, we'll be okay. So we'll buy. Can we buy a left back? Someone who's going to bed in the team. We're going to buy someone who maybe can step in to centre half role. But you see, this is a big thing. If you take a centre half, what does that say to Nacho, Koscielny, and Mavropanos, and Chambers? That's the big point, isn't it? I think we may. I just think it would be an opportunistic, whether it's a plucking or someone that comes through, they'll nick. But I don't see it being a 2 or 3 player thing.
If I said to you, you can have Gary Cahill, what would you say?
No, thanks.
No, I would agree. But I know a lot of people
never really liked him. I think it's always John Terry made him look a lot better than he is.
Yeah. No, I'm just curious. Ake is an interesting one, though. I don't think he would fit the mould of the type of player we have.
It would cost a bloody fortune because he's English, and also Bournemouth would demand.
He's Dutch.
Is he?
Yeah, he's Dutch.
Bournemouth would demand a high price.
Yeah.
They demand a high price because presumably Chelsea have got a sell-on clause in there.
Yeah, I would have thought so, yeah.
Anybody
saying that's Chelsea, so
but anybody who says Gary Cahill's good obviously hasn't watched Chelsea when he's playing recently. So that's very interesting because that sort of brings us. How long have we been going now?
3 or 5 hours, I think.
I was going to say, it feels like forever.
nearly 2 hours. What I'm going to do for the part 2, I'll just quickly go through it. It'll take me about 3 minutes, so we won't introduce part 2. We'll just do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So before you do that, has anybody got a shout out?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'll do it after we've done all the shout outs. Okay. Yeah, I've got a load. All the people who donated.
Right. So go on, Dan.
Right. Thank you very much. What?
Go on. Give us the
right, yeah. David Gooner 1, Mike and Andy from the Gooners podcast, and Vibhor Singh, Yvonne Okofu has done twice, Gabriel Gurmail Kaufman, Sai, Sam Ruth, Fat Sam EIE, Brendan Almeida gave us Dollary Doos, ARU Aruls Elvan. He gave us 200 Indian rupee, I think. Michael Hanneman always gives us money. Marble Halls TV, who's been on a couple of times for the transfer deadline shows. Ariane Hedari, who I think may well have won a shirt. Yeah. AFC 9, COYG, Kashif Ahmed, Oscar Arias, Petito 100, and Mika for life. So thank you very much to everybody who gave us the money. And this week we have spent 15 quid on a USB to Ethernet lead for Ellis because he bought a fucking Apple laptop because it looks good. Ellis. Oh, fuck Ellis.
But his internet is shit.
Yeah, so this will be so he can use Ethernet on it because you pay £800 for a laptop and it doesn't have an Ethernet port, but it's got a shiny Apple badge on it. So there you go.
So damn now. Jesus.
You tyrant-looking shitbag. And what else? I bought myself on the Amazon Black Friday thing. I bought myself a new HD webcam. Oh. No, they don't do that. So I've got a bargain on that. So I've got the updated 920C. So I might donate the old one to maybe Ellis so that he could use it. But there again, maybe not. Okay. So yeah, thank you to everybody who's given us money. And last month, Ellis raised £315 for Movember, and all the money we made from YouTube was not much, but all the money we made from donations was an extra 65 quid that we will be giving him any day now. So thank you very much to everybody for that as well.
Well done, Ellis, as well.
Splendid effort. Yes. Well done to all those listeners for their donations, which pays for our hosting and bits and pieces and keeps us ticking over.
And Danny's porn.
And one day there'll be enough for me to buy a new computer that works. Oh.
Yeah, so do you. You got about 5. I need one. Every time I turn my computer on, steam comes out of it. It goes, oh God, not again.
You need to spend less on tattoos and day-glow clothing, Kris. I keep telling you this.
I do.
Have you got any shout-outs, Kris?
2. One podcast related and one, still podcast related as well. Danny knows this fine young lady, Pizza Guna.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Love Pizza Guna. So I wanted to give her a shout. She's at Pizza Guna. Funnily enough.
What made you pick her?
Because she has just had some awesome artwork done. I say just recently.
Oh yes,
she's had it for a while, but it's a really, really cool piece of art. And we chatted on Instagram a few times. She's awesome. So
Nice. I WhatsApp her pictures of my dinner every time I have something.
I wonder what you were going to say then. WhatsApp her pictures of my dinner.
My dinner.
And let me assure you, listeners, Danny's dinner can be very disturbing at times.
Last night, 6 sausages and 2 bits of chicken.
Good God.
That's a non-disturbing one. It's when mushroom sauce and tuna get involved. We won't say any more.
We need to just get Dom to move in with you for 6 weeks just to get your diet plan organised. I mean, it's criminal, really.
I couldn't afford the dollary dues.
No, true.
The thing is, if Dom did move in there, the blockage which must be in place at the moment, it'll be like the Ruhr Dam bursting. I feel for the people of Danny's cul-de-sac because it could become a river of unpleasantness.
And if people think Theresa May's backstop is terrible, you want to see mine.
The other one is to Kris and his team at Elements, who Danny tweeted recently has done some awesome work.
He did it ages ago, and I finally just got round to doing it.
I know, and I thought I'll give him another little shout out. They're at Elements brand on Twitter. They also are a sponsor of the Pirates, who, for those of you asking, I'm sure you were all asking. No, none of you were, but still, I'll tell you.
Pirates, Kris?
Well, Elements do, and the podcast do, and a few others. But we're on a winter break at the moment, so there's no games. But we are in a cup semi-final.
Maybe coming down for the final if you get there.
Oh, it'd be awesome if we got there. It really would. But we got very, very tough. Very tough game in the semis, but we got to the semis, which is more than we have before. So, and we potentially could go third if we win our 4 games in hand after the winter break, which doesn't finish till March. It's ages away. So we're going to play some friendlies probably. But yeah, Elements are great. Kris and his team are really, really good. They do some really cool stuff, and we've got new graphics on the podcast page, on the Twitter page. They were all done by Kris. And our
new shirts for the podcast. That went back and forth about 10 times. Me having no idea what I want and him figuring out what I want
what you want it putting into place. Yeah,
magnificent. So they're actually with our designers at the moment, the people who make the gear, and they're going to give us a first version of it that we will tout out to you lot. There's going to be 2 different versions of the shirts, and we're going to have 3 different colours to start off with, as well as the ABW live shirts that Jason organised.
And obviously, if anybody is looking for sort of online solutions or marketing and whatnot, just give him a shout. You know, it might be affordable, it might not be. You might be able to help. And he's a gooner, of course.
And a podcast listener.
And a very brief one. This is not a shout out, but just a gentle nudge. Good luck, Mr. Shredder. He knows why.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because he's going to come over and see me if it works out.
Yeah,
he gets deported. Back to Wales.
So my shout out's to a guy called Black Knight, and you can find him at AS_Northbank. One of Her Majesty's finest. He was out in Vauxhall with 500 other mentalists last week.
That was awesome, wasn't it?
At -10, you know, getting 4-hour trains from Vauxhall to Kiev, flags up all over the shop. The Ukrainian ultras trying to nick flags and all sorts going on out there. But yeah, brilliant representation. But I was getting like live commentary and videos from the game from this guy, and he's quite a funny guy as well. So you need to follow him at AS_Northbank, top bloke. And so we now get to that part of the show where Jason usually takes his sleeping tablets. Everybody else turns off their speakers, and Danny talks to himself. But me and Kris aren't such swine. So, Danny, we're quite, we quite like this bit of the show. We're not too public about it. So, Danny, are you going to do your little dance?
A little truffle shuffle. We'll do this quickly because we've gone on for ages. We have to look at the under-23s had a great season, but because of all the Europa League games and all the other games and all the injuries, all their players have been stolen. So we went to Derby County, lost 5-0. No real shame in that. The Koscielny played 45 minutes, came off at half-time. That was a planned substitution. I found out that, Tyrese John Jules from the Ministry of Sound Party, do you know who his uncle is?
I read this somewhere.
Yes,
Go on.
Danny John Jules, who played Cat in Red Dwarf.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Brilliant.
He used to drink in a pub 3 doors down from me when I lived that way.
I wonder if his uncle is a gooner. That'd be nice.
Hopefully, yeah.
And
Dwayne Dibley.
Zellem started the game.
No.
And Charlie Gilmore started that, and then he went on and played. He made his Arsenal debut. Charlie follows me on Twitter. I expect that to be stopped sooner rather than later. So we are 6th in the league. That league's, but it's all about players coming through, and we've got so many brilliant young players coming through. And it's good to see a Scotsman coming through. Yeah. It's been a while since we've had a Scottish player playing for the Arsenal. So well done, Charlie. I know he's a listener. He's probably not. Our Checkatrade Trophy thing is over. We went to Portsmouth and we lost 2-1. Saka scored an absolute worldie. He went running down the left wing, cut in, zigzagged through the whole of their defence, edge of the box, curled it top right hand corner. It's worth going out if you lose a game like that. And Koscielny for that one played, I think, 85 minutes. Only came off because he felt a bit of a tight hamstring or something like that. Zelenin was on the bench. So we're out of that, which is probably... Oh, they've actually updated it. They've got Lundberg now as coach. About time. So yeah, we're out of that tournament, but they've had a good run of 1, 2, 3, 4 games. So that's pretty good for those. The under-18s have... we had Fulham come and visit us on the 1st of December. We smashed them 6-2 with a couple of goals from Balogun. Keep your eye out on this bloke, people, because he's only 17. He was 17 in July, and this season for the under-18s, he's got 11 goals in 9 games. Last season for the under-18s, he got 9 goals in 13 games. Midfielder, I think he can play up front, maybe a little bit wide. At that age, you can probably play him in goal, and he'd be brilliant. And we also had Joel Lopez. Remember the bloke we got from Barcelona, the left back? He played. Sam Greenwood, the one from Sunderland. He's another. Yep. Yeah, he's playing in the 10 here. Y Musa, what's his first name? Y. What does that stand for? Yunus Musa scored a couple of goals, and a player beginning with Z. Zach. Oh, I love a Z. Swanson also scored a 91st minute goal. Apparently, Kwame Ampadu is still the manager there, but he will be back soon when Henry gets the sack. And then some sad news for the ladies. Not only was Jordan Hobbs out for the season and will miss England's World Cup bid, we lost our first game of the season. We'd won 9 previously. We went to Man City. They beat us 2-0. But there's quite a few changes. Rather than having the Dutch lady in goal, we had the French lady in goal. I think the Dutch lady has played almost every game in the league this season. My Dima was still there. Van der Donk, I think, got Player of the Month for November. She's my favourite player. She is the Bergkamp of that team, although my Dima is the one who scores all the goals. And if you go on a Sunday, all the games are played on a Sunday. Now go to BBC around kick-off time. The kick-off for this one was 12:30, and on the red button, they usually have a game or two that you can go and watch. A decent crowd at Man City, 2,149. We're still top of the league, and they are 3 points behind us. You want to say anything about the ladies, Steve? Because I know you like the ladies' football as well, and it's flourishing finally.
Yeah, you'll also find, I think it's after Match of the Day on Saturdays, there's the women's version of Match of the Day.
Yeah.
Where they round up all the games on there. That's well worth watching, especially with the World Cup coming up. And the other brilliant news is that England's going to be the host of the Women's European Championships, I think. And there will be venues all over England. So, look out for that. I keep saying parents who want to take their kids to see games where there's not so much aggression and there's not so much savoury language.
Shithousery.
Yeah, skullduggery, the dark arts.
Well, the dark arts and shithousery are definitely in women's football. But if you want to go, to take them, just look up on the website where Arsenal's games are. And I think you can buy tickets online. Or I think in some cases you can pay on the gate. And it's a great atmosphere. Yeah, they play at Boreham Wood, so there you go.
Which is, I don't know whereabouts in England that is. I know it's London-ish.
Hertfordshire.
So that's north of London then, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go and watch them.
Quite a posh spot, I believe.
Quick injury roundup. Rob Holding, knee injury. We're looking, could be his season over. Ramsey, ankle injury, turned it, probably a bit of a strain. Slight doubt for the next game.
Don't think he'll play at the weekend.
Mesut has a smiley face with green dollars coming out of his eyes. So
Mesut will be fine for the weekend. I have no doubt about that whatsoever.
Yeah, late fitness test for the weekend. Hopefully he'll go back and show what he did, because he's had a couple of really good games this season. Welbeck out for the season. Looks like there was talk that his contract won't be renewed. Monreal won't be back for the next game. He's December the 13th. They reckon he will return to full training in 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And finally, Mavropanos expected to return to full training in December, which it is now. Won't be ready for the next game, maybe another couple of weeks. And I think that's it. There's nothing amazing going on with the Lone Watch. We haven't got time to read all that lot out, but just go to George Bird on Twitter. That's Georgia with J. Go and have a look at it and read his blog. And also, if you're looking at blogs, go to Goonaholic. Go and have a look at his blogs. He does a blog straight away after every single game. Even if he's had a couple of tipples, he'll still go and do it. And he said he hopes to join us for a live show sometime this season, which would be good.
For the purists that are still tuned in, because at this stage it is only the purists.
The people who are too comfortable in bed and can't reach stop.
People who've got nothing else to do with their lives. I don't know if you've discovered this or not yet, Danny, but I certainly have, thanks to Mr. Josh Daw. Thank you, Josh. There's a gentleman who's a bit of a legend and has been for many years, called Danny Baker. A lot of our English listeners will know who that is. Steve certainly will. He of Millwall's Parish. But he used to do an excellent, brilliant podcast with Danny Kelly back in the day.
They did talk sport together.
Baker and Kelly, yeah. And then it was
get on with it.
It was cruelly killed off. I don't know why. It's been resurrected with Gary Lineker. Lineker or what's it called? I can't remember what it's called now. But anyway, look it up. It's really, really good. So if you just like a little bit of general football chat as well as sort of Arsenal-based stuff, then check that out.
Lineker and Baker behind closed doors. And if we're promoting BBC stuff, go and have a look at
it's not BBC.
Isn't it?
It's just off their own back. Okay. It's just
go and have a look at Peter Crouch's podcast.
I was going to say if you because amongst all the humour and the japery that's going on in there, there's also a hell of a lot of information and stuff you would never find out that Crouch sort of lets out, into the pod about not only about his teammates but about training and all sorts. But he's generally hilarious. If you're ever down in the dumps, that's one you should be listening to.
Yeah. And his co-hosts are actually pretty good.
There's a few really good ones at the moment, actually. Yeah, there is well worth checking out a few. Also, Drew and Ross's is good, Danny. I don't know if you've had a chance to listen to that.
Message them and tell them change the name of their channel, because Shard and Friday 99 is a stupid name. They should name it after the show.
The Tactics Pad.
So before you two go through the list of every podcast in existence,
sorry,
and we have listeners slashing their wrists because we have been on since like 7:15,
1993, I believe,
and it is now 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
So that was a Bergkamp Wonderland, an Arsenal podcast. I'd like to thank my guests, one of whom's buggered off, Geoff, but he had to go because he was in dire trouble with her indoors if he didn't. And I'd like to thank Dan for sitting there pushing the buttons and putting up with me and Kris talking bollocks.
Fine art, and I do it badly.
And Kris for going full Carpenter, being a pirate and generally being himself.
Oh, mon pleasure, my good man.
Indeed.
Steve for pointing this in the right direction.
Well, one tries, and as we say, Daniel, pull the plug. That is it. Thank you for listening. And don't forget to listen to the live show on YouTube after the games. Join all the idiots and lunatics and general Bergkamp Wonderland listeners in the live chat box. So there will be live chat after the game on Saturday. I think we're probably Jason and
Dom and John.
So after the Huddersfield game, go on there, hit the subscribe button. You get a notification when we go live. And then you can listen to the show and interact with the other 200 or 300 lunatics in the chat box and then have some fun doing it. So thank you very much for listening and thank you and good evening. And that's the end to our beastly nastiness.
And here's some more shenanigans after the podcast ended.
And thinking good evening, and that's the end to our beastly nastiness.
Pray for my balls.
It's horrible business, Steve. Terrible business.
Terrible business, a pirate with only one nadger.
It's like I had visions in my head of that scene from Rocky where he's doing the punch bag. Just that big brown sweaty sack
around in the wind.
Well, who was that character on Viz who had massive nads?
Oh, yeah.
I used to carry them round in a wheelbarrow.
Yeah, what was that? Oh, God. That's going to bug me.
So I had visions of sort of Kris trotting down cliff paths in Plymouth with one nad in a wheelbarrow and the other under lock and key under the Velcro.
I wish they were that big. Well, actually, that'd be a bit weird if I had massive nads. And
bags of fun with Buster.
Buster gonads.
That's it.
Buster gonads, that's it.
Busted gonad in Chris's case.
Yes, it was quite the thing, I can tell you.
Yes, I bet it was but that was a bit of a choker.
Yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, let's be fair. For all the years of punishment we've had, and I listened into the radio show after the Spurs and the Man United game, and for all the years where you'd see Jason, being on there trying to do a show with John, and they're both looking like they just watched their families being burnt to death in front of them after another sterling performance of going and fucking a game up royally. The happiest fucking Larry,
I listened to them in the shower this morning. There's an image for you.
There's some information we could have done without.
Mm-hmm.
And the shows are becoming, radio shows are becoming sort of more lively, and everybody's in a positive, happy mood. And I think that sort of, you can see that on Twitter. You can see that in the ground as well.
It's amazing. I've not had anything from any really shite rappers that maybe allegedly host kids' parties. I've not had anything.
No, they're too busy.
People like that
fighting amongst themselves.
Too busy crying on their asses because they haven't got any ratings because there's no disasters.
No, that's a shame.
I think if people are still, I'll use this for the extras. Go and listen to Arsecast this week because our very own Goonaholic was on it tonight. Yeah, so that's going to be. I love hearing Dave on there where he actually gets to speak without me interrupting him or me giggling. Yeah, so I was thinking when we were making some of those points that we're always moaning about how much they were getting paid. Do you think if Aubameyang was on 300 grand a week, anybody would be saying anything about it? They wouldn't, would they? They wouldn't care.
Well, he's on nearly 300 grand a week.
Yeah,
I thought he was on about 190 plus goal bonus.
No, he's on the 260 end.
270.
Well, if he was on 400 grand a week, would we be complaining? We wouldn't, would we? Because he's doing the bloody job.
I live in the John Welsh world of
Jesus, this is worrying.
No, I couldn't give a shit if they paid £84 million a week. Couldn't give a shit. Yeah. Don't care. As long as our club is sustainable and as long as I think that's the only issue.
I hate the scapegoat thing, and I hate this player can't be touched because I've got an opinion about him and I'm not prepared to budge on that.
Yeah.
But that player, that one there, he's to blame for all our ills, and he's lazy because he doesn't, run around the pitch kicking people a lot. And then, how dare you be deceptive and languid in your body language, and how dare you get injured? And
the idea that if you're paid more money than one other player, that you shouldn't miss a chance or that you shouldn't ever have a bad game, but then the players that are paid next to nothing, like the kids who have brilliant games, they're fine. It doesn't make any sense.
The problem is that there's way too many people young ones who look at football like it's FIFA. So that made a mistake, I'll sell him and get someone else, or he made a mistake, I'll put it right next week. They've got no idea about the work. If you've played football or you've been around football for a long time, or footballing family or something, you understand all the processes that are within it and how hard coaches work to get the basics into kids and stuff. And everybody goes to work. Everybody makes mistakes. It's just that footballers' mistakes are on the fucking TV. If I see one more person saying, "Oh, we've got to get rid of Mustafi," my first question is, who are you going to replace them with? And then you get a list of players but then you either get no one or a list of players that Arsenal can't afford to buy and won't move out of their club. So it's like Brexit. It's like, oh, we want this, yeah, but it's not possible. Yeah, but we want it. Yeah, but it's not possible. Oh, we want this. We want Koulibaly. He's going to cost 100 million quid. And he'll want 200 grand a week. We can't afford it. Yeah, but we want him.
It's not the real world.
And imagine he comes in the team in the first game and has a major fuck up in the NLD. We're like, sell him, hang him, burn him, nail him to the stadium doors. Fucking bastard.
I always said he was shit.
Yeah. When I scouted him on YouTube for 23 seconds before we bought him, I made my opinion.
It's the same thing that makes me laugh at people when they go, "Oh yeah, we got to sign Nicolas Pepe." These are the same fuckers that are calling it a Farmers League. Hang on a minute.
Well, yeah,
hang on a second.
Let me go back to Lucas Moura. Remember the scream up of like, "Oh, we got to sign this player. He's this, that, the other," and he's, and Arsenal that didn't buy him, and he's gone to Tottenham. They paid a lot of money for him. Okay, he's not done badly, but he's soon going to be found out, and he's soon going to end up like Walcott. He's going to get fed up of being put into orbit.
Yeah.
Not to me entirely, but it's people. The next thing is going to be when this guy from Paraguay, from the MLS, goes to Newcastle. Be like, I've got some American followers.
What team does he play for in MLS?
I don't know. Miron, that bloke we were talking about earlier on, Kris.
Almiron. Yeah.
Does he play for over?
Atalanta, yeah. Atalanta.
I've got some American followers, and the shit they talk about players. One of them's like, "Oh, let's cash Lacazette in, or cash Aubameyang in, and reinvest the money somewhere else." And then talking shit about getting. I just don't even. I've just muted them now. I just don't even want to see it. I just don't want to listen.
Cashing in on the two blokes that are getting us where we are. Yeah, we got fucked, and we couldn't replace for the money even if we had it.
I mean, my only complaint about, if I had to complain about Lacazette, it wouldn't be indirectly at him. It would be at Wenger, because he should have bought him 3 years previously. He could have got fucking 25 million.
Someone who would have been saying that for the last 3 years.
And we had the opportunity to buy him a year before we did as well.
For 35 discount.
The one that's making me laugh at the moment, and I am a bit smug about it, is the the Kante thing. I'm very smug about this. Who'd have thought that people would finally realise that, as good as N'Golo Kante is, and he is very good, he's not very good at passing the ball or making attacks join up well. Who'd have thought? All these people saying he was the next coming of Jesus. He's very, very good at the role he's in, but only that role. He can't do anything else. This is why, and they've been found out.
Imagine being such a prick as a manager to go and say, "Do you know what? I know you've been an absolute rock in front of Chelsea's defence, and you've been the engine that drives the team forward, but I've signed this absolute complete fucking damn fancy boy from Italy, and I'm going to put him in the front there. Oh, fuck me, Tottenham have blocked him out of the game and run all over us, but I'm still going to play you up front next week." That's more or less what he did to Kante in that game.
The trouble is, as well, Jorginho is a really good player, but he had a guy at Napoli with him, Alan, who they now don't have. Alan. I wouldn't say he made Jorginho the player. That would be wrong. But he definitely improved that partnership. Again, it's that word, partnerships, isn't it? Yeah. You can't recreate that. And
have you seen that? Have you seen that meme that someone's compared what Kante's done this season so far to what Torreira's done this season so far?
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah,
and it's Torreira's better in most categories, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I think he's gonna. I think as time goes on, I think he's going to be one of the steals of.
Oh, absolutely.
Of the last 2 or 3 years transfer-wise, and we have to make sure that kid is tied down to a massive contract and doesn't leave the club.
This is why I worry that the owner is a money owner, and someone comes in and offers us 90 million for him. They're going to go, "Oh,
a player to a degree has got to want to leave as well and have ambitions."
My worry is he gets to be really, really good. He's 25 or 26, and we've got him on 180 grand, 200 grand a week. And fucking Barcelona come knocking at the door, and Suarez is there. Another Uruguayan. So that's that for him would be the peak sort of thing as a Spanish Latino person.
But we also have to be realistic and say where we are. We can't fight off those type of clubs at the moment, can we? We've got to
get the most money out of it and reinvest it. But
and all South Americans want to do is play for Barcelona and Real Madrid. That's their dream.
But if he's in the Champions League with us, I don't think he'll be in any hurry.
But he will be, because we're finishing third.
I agree.
But I think, it's an incredible journey when you look at his story of, he signed for this lower league Italian club. Was it Pescara or somewhere like that?
Pescara, yeah.
Yeah, they took him out of a load of kids that they saw. And, he bought his dad a butcher's shop.
Yeah.
and it's a family business, you know. And they come from Fray Bentos, and he's done all that work at Sampdoria, you know, and now he's come to London, you know. And the brilliant thing is as well, people don't realise he's got a Spanish passport.
Yes, he has. Yeah. Ferrati came from Pescara as well. They've got a bit of a habit of unearthing a few gems. Yeah.
So you know, I think he's got a long way to go, and I think my view on this whole Emery thing is it's like this season, whatever happens will happen. And forget what happened in the past. You know, it's like Danny said earlier on, you're not going to iron out what's been engendered into people for 10 years overnight. No. Eventually it will go. But the other thing is I mean, I think people are going to be surprised at the outs. I mean, we've already seen how ruthless Emery is over team dropping people out of the team. But I've got a distinct opinion. If somebody knocked on the door tomorrow and said, we'll give you 35 million quid for Mesut Ozil.
Oh, he'd be interested, I think.
We'd be interested. But the problem is I was reading somewhere that we would need to subsidise his wages, and apparently we're definitely not interested in that.
And that I'm convinced that Adidas deal has got a little bit to do with
massive lot to deal with him. Yeah.
I mean, like you said, and I know, and people will always come back and say and give you that line of, oh, great, so we got a £35 million or £350 marketing asset. Great, but that's not the point. The point is we have got him anyway, and this is what he brings.
And you've got 75 million quid a year, so shut up, fuckwit.
Exactly. So I think the only way that we move Mesut on is if we get an offer where we go, do you know what, we cannot afford to turn that down. I.e., if Inter came in and said, we'll give you 45 million or something, that's the only way you would.
Well, the other thing is that he'll go to an Adidas team where they'll help with his wages as well.
Yeah, that's weirdly, Real Madrid would be a good fit right now.
Well, yeah, but I think I don't think he'll go, but I think Mkhitaryan will go. I think Ramsey will go.
I hope Mkhitaryan doesn't, because I do think there's a player in there. I know he frustrates you, but I really do think
he's... With that, Kris. It's just a financial thing.
Yeah.
In his contract, there's a clause. If we renew his contract, and there is an extension in there which we don't want to trigger because it doubles his wages to $380 a week.
Yeah, that's a worry.
So he's going to be told to go and find a club. Then Fatty Raiola will be coming out saying a load of old shit. But he's got a massive problem because Raul Sanllehi knows what a cunt he is, and he'll just fucking ruin him. But you know, I think he'll go. I think Ramsey will go. I actually think there's a chance Peter Cech might go.
I think there is as well. I think he might end up coaching.
Yeah, it depends who can offer him a coaching deal. The other thing with Ramsey is he's got to think where he wants the formative years of his kids to be brought up. Because they're the first two that he's had, those twins. Or has he got one before?
No, he's got another one, hasn't he?
Yeah, so where does he want to bring them up? Does he want to bring them up in London, where every kid would want to be grown up, be brought up if your dad's a millionaire? Or you don't want to bring them up in Germany or Italy? I mean, two countries I really like, but... No, just as a general rule, most British people don't want to.
To me, Milan is a good fit.
No, imagine that, living in Milan. It'd be magnificent.
Yeah.
You mean most British people don't want to? Actually, if most British people actually went and had a life abroad, they'd find out that the life abroad is a lot better than it is in England.
Yeah, that's why I'd like to go there.
His kids would be in private schools anyway.
Yeah.
They might even have home
tutoring. Yeah, I agree. I think Ramsey to Milan, I think, is a very, very good fit. Personally, he's exactly the type of player
that falling into place, aren't they?
Yeah.
Well, apart from the fact Gazidis is there and he don't like him, but
that's the only.
No,
I thought he did like him.
No,
there was a bit of talk about it, yeah, but.
Oh, good.
But then if you're only having to see him to sign a contract and then slot in, it doesn't really matter, does it? That's the only thing I'd say. But
he's learning a new language. You know, that's the difficult part.
Yeah,
but Ramsey, unlike most footballers, is an intelligent young man, so he could learn a new language. He can go over there and we'll be over there 3-4 years. Then he can go and retire and live where he wants, or 5 years maybe, go and live where he wants. But I think there'll be quite a big. I mean, I think Mkhitaryan, Ramsey, I think Peter Cech. I also think, and people won't like this, but I think Kos will be told to go in the summer as well.
I
think that while Kris is here, there'll be tears.
No, I think he might actively be interested in. I think he said before he's quite keen on going back to France, possibly. He's still very well liked in Lorient, and if they make it up to Ligue 1, that would be an ideal place to go back to. And it's an ideal place to go if the injury is not great, or if he wants to go a slightly lower down level, it would make sense. But. I hope he comes back and proves a lot of people wrong, personally. But
I'd like to see him have one last season, but I just don't see at his age with that injury and the lack of pace that brings that he can exist as a regular starter at that level. But, you know, I mean, I think on top of those ones I've said, there'll be another one which will surprise us. And that will just be someone that Emery and Carcedo and the staff feel that you haven't quite got what it takes to fit into the system, and we've got actually someone better in mind we could use your wages with.
Yeah.
So we shall see.
Right, gents, I'm going to stop recording the extras there. And before Steve says anything too little, I was going to stop the extras there. I'm going to have to cut that last bit off the end. Right, I'm stopping.